subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Dormammu. Let him, a multi-universe powerhouse, collide with the divine brilliance of Aldabas, and then he is responsible for balancing the power in it, maintaining a weak balance, thereby prying the power of both sides. Even Lin Xiu was amazed by this kind of coquettish operation. But, compared with the vigor of Ancient One, Lin Xiu actually admired her good luck even more. Be infected. It is Aldabas, not other divinities, even the supreme divinity, who leaves behind the brilliance of divinity. Otherwise, Ancient One definitely has to play collapse. Put yourself in it. No way. Good luck to her. A half-crippled and dying boss was selected. Thankfully, it's Albertus. Lin Xiu smacked his lips. XXX. Aldaboth is the supreme creator of flesh and chaos. Regardless of style or strength, they all belong to the type of heifer going to heaven. But, because it is too much to die, you have to fight with the broken god who is also the supreme divinity. Although he killed the god of brokenness, he was also taken away by a wave when he was dying, released the silver net, and locked it in a small black room in another world, and directly sealed the lower limit. It can only rely on the infiltration power of some space-time cracks to test the outside world pitifully. This story tells us, don't pretend to be dead, because it is easy to do it, and you will really die. Tisk, looks like Ancient One is about to rise. If she can resist the erosion of the supreme divinity. Lin Xiu rubbed his chin with a subtle expression. The supreme divinity of the SCPs are all perverts beyond imagination, not to mention being banned from the offline. Even the broken god who was killed until the account was deleted can come out from time to time to gain a sense of existence. For this kind of common sense beyond the concept, all conventional considerations are meaningless. The Ancient One needs intensive monitoring. When the containment arrives in the future, list all the content related to Ancient One Mage as the key observation objects. Lin Xiu whispered softly and gave instructions to the Foundation members next to him. Friendship is friendship. Business is business. In any case, it is related to the supreme divinity, and Lin Xiu definitely cannot turn a blind eye to it. Don't take bean buns as dry food. The supreme divinity that has been beaten and titled is also the terrifying supreme divinity. Just when Lin Xiu ordered things to be carried out. On the broadcast screen, the fierce confrontation is about to reach a climax. Dark mirror space boom. Boom. The two terrifying forces kept colliding. Next to him has absorbed the yellow light of the sun and has transformed into a small sun, Superman with the power to lift the earth. In this terrifying shock, I feel like a small boat in the wind and waves, which may be submerged by the waves at any time. The energy tide beyond imagination collides like a substance, and the aftermath of the burst directly destroys a city. And Superman can vaguely feel that there seems to be unimaginable horror hidden in the bodies of Ancient One and SCP-049. Far more terrifying than the power they're showing now. What the hell is that? Superman frowned. The mirror space is independent in another world, and the communicator can't work. Batman can't get in touch with the external brain, and Superman can only try to figure it out on his own. The superbrain is starting. However, before he could think of anything, the battlefield between Ancient One and SCP-049 suddenly changed. Plague. No one can stop me. No one can prevent the elimination of the plague. When the apocalypse comes true, the four horsemen of apocalypse descend. I will become the plague to save the last human beings. Endless dead air rose into the sky above SCP-049, as dead as a substance. Behind him, suddenly condensed into the outline of Tianma. She LV. Invisible sound waves spread. The power of the epidemic doctor seemed to have become infinitely stronger. The long robe is his knight armor. The scalpel he holds is the knight spear he fights. The beak mask he wears is also a component of the knight helmet. Walking in the chaotic mirror space, SCP-049 appears to be a knight from Legendary. His name, Call it a plague. Boom! A large phantom emerges behind SCP-049, as if from a distant nothingness. Infiltrate the multi-universe. Even if it's just an insignificant breath, it carries an irresistible terror. Collapse. Crumble. Everything seemed to come to an end at this moment. Towards the end of all things returning to ruins. All the known and the unknown are inevitably heading towards the end. Broken. Disappear. Everything that can be seen with the naked eye decays at a rapid rate. And even the entire universe is coming to an end. What exactly is this? Ancient One's eyes widened. The power of the Eye of Agamotto is completely useless in front of this aura of the end. Go back in time anyway. None can resist the coming of the end. Or, this should be called death. Against the death of the entire universe. Absolute. That kind of picture must not be allowed to happen. Ancient One's pupils constricted. The power of the time gem allowed her to see a corner of the future. Perhaps it is self-help from the instinct of the universe. Let time gem burst out of extraordinary power. Let her see a corner of the future. The phantom behind SCP-049 is just a ray of divine radiance, and all the places passing by have ushered in an irreversible death, dying conceptually, and then turning into ruins. At last, just a moment, the entire universe has ushered in irreversible death. The Earth died first, and then the 9 realms, the solar system, and the Kree people spread rapidly to the eternal race, Titan Star, until the end of the universe. The entire universe was dead. The concept of death is shrouded, and life completely disappears. Google, it must be stopped. Even Ancient One's throat twitched in shock. The pitch-black eyes were shrouded in infinite firmness. Fine, still in mirror space. So, what she has to do is to expand the mirror space to infinity and turn it into a huge amounts of net, trying to carry and enclose the ray of brilliance revealed by that unknown existence as much as possible. Don't let that ray of power leak out. Dormammu, I need your strength. Multi-universe master, the incarnation of the dark dimension, the source of dark magic. Her power is absolutely endless. XX. The cooperation process was not pleasant. Dormammu, don't come here. Ancient One, you will sink into darkness forever. After the curse of nothing new, Dormammu, who was restricted by the dimensional invasion, quickly became the blue bottle of Ancient One. The divinity of Dragon Mother allows Ancient One to easily suppress her, to draw strength from her. The dark energy pours out, and the mirror space keeps growing, expanded to a universe-like scale, even surpassing the upper limit of observation. Next, countless people witnessed with their own eyes an unforgettable scene. The death of the universe. Brothers rest assured to follow up. Update steadily every day. One less chapter. Just wash your hair upside down on the spot. If you have the conditions, you can tap to subscribe automatically. Thank you, Kue. Chapter 080, Death Supreme. Beyond the ultimate concept of the 5 creator gods. The mirror universe keeps shattering. Under the power of time, gem, activation. Ancient One expands the space very quickly, but the phantom of the gods destroys the universe even faster. Endless planets have fallen into dead silence one after another. It's like the vision that Ancient One foresaw in the time gem. Can't blink. The mirror universe has completely collapsed. Fall into endless silence. The star core of the planet has ushered in death, as if the entire universe is in heat death. The terrifying concept of death, even material things are not exempt. It was just the product of a leak of his breath. Dormammu's power in the dark dimension was almost exhausted, coupled with the full force of the time gem. He barely resisted the opponent's power until the breath disappeared. Ancient One can feel that he has no malice at all. It's just the impact of high dimensionality on low-dimensional creatures, and a leakage of breath alone will bring countless ants to perish. What the hell is that existence? Ancient One's eyes widened. His complexion changed suddenly, and he felt the breath on him. Vaguely, even more terrifying than the eternal god. As soon as the idea appeared, Ancient One immediately shook his head. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The eternal gods are the five great gods of creation, the supreme concept that transcends diversity. How could it be suppressed by an unknown existence? Absolutely impossible. Ancient One murmured and shook his head. However, just when her voice fell, with the departure of the divine brilliance, new content suddenly appeared on the exposure screen on the sky. Black shadows like paper cutouts. For the first time, no real appearance emerged. Like, mortals should not look directly at God. 933. Three brothers of death / a wisp of divinity. Type, supreme divinity, death, destruction, death, the supreme God who controls death, the darkness before the creation of the world, the end and death of all things, created the tree of knowledge. All secret paths and all creations originate from this. Every universe has, after the tree is formed, it grows according to the order of the tree. In charge of the primordial fire, created three lands of decedent, above the end of all things. The text is smudged on the video like ink. Then, it was a terrifying scene. In a group of three, a person stepped out and waved gently towards the vast universe. Then, this seemingly incomparably prosperous universe came to an end in an instant. Whether it is the common people, the strong overlord, or the ancient gods born in the creation of the world, they're all shrouded in endless death, and they're completely heading towards the end, death. Multiple worlds, multiple timelines, and multiple force fields collapse and dissipate together, leaving only one wave torrent. When I returned, I met a plague doctor wearing a bird's beak mask, and he gave it eternal life with a simple touch and turned his back on death. The concept of death will be chosen to leave him. What exactly is he? Looking at the video on the sky screen, Ancient One's inner horror couldn't be described in words. Multiple worlds. The world, which is far larger than the universe they are in, unexpectedly ushered in an irreversible death with just a light wave. The conceptual death caused countless timelines to collapse together. The degree of horror makes people speechless. And the terrifying immortality of the plague doctor is actually just a little bit of him. Hell, this is impossible. There is such a terrifying existence in SCP. Moto, Faith's eyes widened. The giant copper bell-like eyes seemed to be on fire. Original, he thought that the Foundation, SCP, was at most an unknown prehistoric force, or the ancient existence of other planets in the universe. But the pictures in the exposure video completely destroyed his self-righteousness. Asgard, destroy the power of diversity. Odin's pupils shrank, and the gun of eternity was held in his hand, and the bones of his hand were already a little white. Actually, there is such a terrifying power. If it weren't for the sudden explosion of Ancient One and the leakage of the other party's breath, apart from Midgard, the first to suffer is definitely Asgard, and the whole of Jochuan will sink into death. He didn't have the slightest confidence that he could block such a terrifying monster. Could it be? Is he death and legendary? Odin looked horrified. Think of some ancient legendaries that are passed down in the universe. Odin is definitely not talking about Hela, the goddess of death. 2. Above the multiplicity of the universe. Only the concept circulates in the multi-universe, which claims to encompass everything and surpass death above the concept. One of the 5 creation gods. A real god who is more terrifying than the Tenjin group and has countless quilts. These 5 gods only exist among the gods whose concepts are passed on, and it seems that one of them is called death. But the concept spread by the death god seems to be very different from this one. Odin frowned. I have never heard of the death god among the 5 gods, but it is actually composed of a trinity, and it must be too scary. Just stepping out of one person will bring death to the multiverse. That is to say, 1/3 of the opponent's power can easily destroy the multi-universe. If it's all, Odin had a tickle in his throat, a look of awe in his eyes. Unimaginably powerful and terrifying. Is it the real power of the SCP and the Foundation? The pride in Odin's heart completely collapsed. The terrifying unknown. The world is getting more and more interesting. Dr. Manhattan looked up. A rare look of fear appeared in his eyes. Having experienced the restart of the universe, foreseeing countless timelines, and seeing all the parameters of the universe in Manhattan, he thought that nothing could shock him. But, framed from the video, still can't help but be horrified. Above the universe, it is the power beyond concept. Death, Manhattan murmured at the corner of his mouth. A look of apprehension appeared on his face. SCPs are so scary. One can imagine the level of horror of a foundation that can fight and confront SCPs. So, it's an organization above the universe? The muffled sounds of Manhattan echoed through the streets. Far side of the moon is a secret place that not even the Inhumans know about. Supreme divinity, 3 brothers of death. How is this possible? There is no such force in the universe. The observers were shocked and angry. The bald little dwarf came out of the moon crater, stood on a deserted rock, looked at the picture in the sky, and his wide eyes were filled with unbelievable light. The power of the mind is blooming because of being too excited, and the cloak behind him is automatic without wind. The entire moon is hovering around the death line. As an observer, he has silently watched the universe for countless years, billions of years, allowing him to witness countless major events. His existence was originally a history book of the level universe. But in this vast age, he'd never heard anything about it. Supreme divinity? The 3 dead brothers? Fart. The death of the 5 creation gods is not like this at all. The observer frowned. His face was dissatisfied, and he wanted to directly refute and expose his mask. But glance. Looking at the screen, the mirror universe that fell into heat, death, death. The observer's expression froze suddenly. Words can be faked. Screens can be faked. However, reality cannot be faked. Just on the Earth, not far from the moon, the observer can definitely perceive what happens in the mirror space. He also felt a strong threat of death from that breath. As if he came into contact with it personally and was infected by this force, he would inevitably face death. The terrifying concept of death cannot be exempted at all. But that's just a ray of divinity descending. Observers were stunned. Self-proclaimed as an ancient god, he doesn't even pay attention to the gods group, and Uncle Tun is not afraid of him. But he actually bowed his head to a ray of divine aura and felt the threat of death on it, which is definitely enough to obliterate him. What exactly exists? The observer looked horrified, feeling the oppression of transcending dimensions for the first time. He even feels the 3 death brothers are even more terrifying existences than the death god. Could it be? Above the great god of death, there is an existence that controls the concept of death at a higher level. Foundation, what exactly is it? The observer swallowed, originally thinking that this was just an ancient organization on the planet. Did not expect. The boss who followed the clues is actually so terrifying. Absolutely. Beyond the power of the multi-universe. Universe. 3 dead brothers. It's just one of them. And it's just a ray of divinity descending. Can this level be achieved? Collector's eyes widened. Even he, the ancient in the universe, can't understand this power. Real. Could it exist? Collector shook his head. The suspicion in his heart raised to the highest level. Maybe it's just a smoke bomb deliberately produced by an ancient civilization. Thanos' eyes widened, feeling helpless. As the ultimate licking dog of the god of death, no one told him that there are actually 2 highest concepts of death. There are 2 goddesses. Which one should I lick? Within the earth. Damn, this is the foundation. Grunt. Operation canceled. All canceled. God, am I dreaming? Everyone, put down your weapons and stop all attack commands. The look of anger and the voice of fear kept ringing out in the bases of the major organizations on the Earth. Even the overlords, emperors, and supreme powerhouses in the universe were frightened and uneasy by the sudden dimensional ascension scene. Not to mention the organization that is still on the small broken ball. Countless people with horror on their faces. All the little signs that had just arisen in my heart were firmly suppressed by them. Foundation terror, far beyond their expectations. Unimaginably powerful, enough to dispel all ambitions. And them finally shot. Nick Fury stared at the screen with serious eyes. Obviously, I have seen it several times, but when I saw the familiar picture again, I couldn't help swallowing. Foundation arrived. The propeller roared over the scorched earth of the ruins of pioneering technology. Several flight columns suddenly appeared, with powerful fighter performance and excellent concealment. Even Ingjiang's most advanced radar detector could not find the slightest trace. It was as if the eyes were dazzled, and a column of fighter jets appeared in the sky. The D-level staff and the special operations team landed from the fighter plane in an orderly manner. The space trembled. The man in the windbreaker came directly to the front of the line. Then, he stretched out his hand towards the place where Ancient One opened the mirror space. Zila unleashed the power to distort reality. It was like opening the door forcibly, breaking a void road leading to the mirror space from the empty air. Without hesitation, the staff stepped in one after another. Dark mirror space. Absorb the power of the dark dimension and forcibly expand the space. The file size, which was originally comparable to the one-to-one reproduction of the universe, has now been destroyed by the divinity of the three dead brothers, and all other places are heat dead, leaving only a small piece of flat land. How did you get in here? Ancient One stared slightly. Someone broke into her mirror space abruptly from the outside world, and Ancient One could definitely perceive it. Surprise appeared on her face. This is her exclusive space, and she broke in so easily? Ancient One frowned. But look at the organizational markings on their overalls, 3 arrows running through them. Ancient One instantly relieved 4.4. It's the Foundation. With the strength of the Foundation, there is no need to be surprised to do anything. RO, it is surprising that the staff of the Foundation cannot enter the mirror space, right? Ancient One shook his head, with a bit of bitterness in the corner of his mouth. But the staff of the Foundation focused all their attention on SCP-049 in front of them. Be careful. The state of his body is very wrong. Ancient One frowned and took the initiative to remind the Foundation. Although the phantom of the 3 dead brothers disappeared, SCP-049 did not leave. A thick dead air was brewing in him, as if wanting to activate a new form. Even the Ancient One, who had leveraged the brilliance of divinity, felt threatened from him. If you need help, I could do my best. She is also an Asgardian of the Earth dimension and will definitely not sit idly by. The man in the windbreaker shook his head with a businesslike tone in his tone. Execution, SCP-049 Containment Operation. Brush. Well-trained staff walked out from behind the man in the windbreaker, and under the power of distorting reality, they approached the epidemic doctor. They still held test tubes and containers in their hands, which contained a colorless liquid. Lavender. Ancient One frowned, as if asking about the smell of lavender essence. Originally anxious, not CP-049. After the staff approached, he calmed down instantly. And, very docile, regarding the containment operation of the Foundation, they didn't resist at all and just raised their hands and followed. Compared with the appearance of the crazy doctor before, it's almost like a replacement. Chapter 081, Mutant Ambition, the Immortal Phoenix Force of Chaos. How can it be? It's so easy to contain it. Could it be that my eyesight was wrong? Or I didn't wake up? Nick Fury couldn't help but rub his eyes, just as they shook the horrors of the 3 dead brothers and the unfathomable history of the Foundation. The picture on the exposure screen changes suddenly. The well-trained staff of the Foundation dropped off the fighter plane neatly, then crossed into the core battlefield, approached SCP-049, and easily packed him away. A whole set of processes is smooth and flowing, and the speed is astounding, to put it outrageously. Nick Fury didn't even find out how they controlled SCP-049. SCP-049, who was so deadly and arrogant just now, and the fierce battle with Superman, caused the sun to undergo unknown changes. How could it be controlled by those D-class members in the blink of an eye? So restless, destroyed the epidemic doctor of Ingjiang's elite troops. In front of the Foundation, he is as docile as a sheep. Facing the suppression and containment of the personnel, They didn't even resist. They were fixed with a human-shaped restraint belt, and the lock loop was around neck. Together with the body, they were firmly locked and restrained. It directly became a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. On the left and right, two members of the Special Service Combat Team with Gauss rifles acted as guards and monitored. SCP-049 does not resist either. Quietly lowering her head, she followed the footsteps of the Foundation and left. Even those SCP-049-1 resurrected by sutures followed very docilely without a stab, driving them forward. It's just like herding sheep. Military. Shit. What the hell did they do? How can this be? The general's eyes widened. They understand how powerful the Foundation is. But to be strong, you have to pay attention to a basic law, right? Why did SCP-049, who was killing frenziedly in front of the Eagle Sauce, become as docile as a sheep after being in front of the Foundation? This unscientific. The general's eyes almost popped out. It's magical. Ancient One pursed her lips. Her face was covered by large black lines 06. It was difficult for outsiders to understand her emotions. Does lavender have a special restraint effect on SCP-049? Ancient One paused slightly. It is different from other people's guesses across the screen. She is close at hand and can clearly smell the scent of lavender. It is not easy to understand that the scent of flowers can make SCP-049 surrender, but it is easy to accept the scent of lavender as a key point to trigger certain magical rituals. After all, tongue has long been used to the strange, triggering rituals in various dimensional magics. The reason why occultism is mysterious is because there are very few people who control them. Easy containment of SCP-049. It made countless people's eyes widen, and all kinds of remarks filled the hot searches on the internet. Everyone is racking their brains, guessing what the Foundation has done, right in the middle of countless storms. Becoming the protagonist of countless people's guesses, Lin Xiu didn't care about the heat. Anyway, the more you talk about it, the better it is for him. Made money. The corners of Lin Xiu's mouth were slightly raised, with a smile on his face. On the system panel, the ever-increasing exposure value makes people feel happy. The more people know about it, the more people are shocked, and the feedback of exposure value will be stronger. Especially this time. The unexpected appearance of the three dead brothers brought the incident to a climax, destroying the horror scene of the entire universe. Even if it was just a mirror universe, the things contained in it were enough to make countless people feel astonished. Indeed, many top powerhouses in the universe are in a state of doubt. But, even to this degree, it can also contribute a lot of exposure value. Looking at the ever-increasing numbers and the lit icons on the panel, you can roughly see how much Lin Xiu has gained this time. Even if he didn't bring SCP-049 back, he won't lose money this time. The epidemic Dr. Angel is really my lucky star. The corners of Lin Xiu's mouth twitched slightly. Looking at SCP-049, brought back by the staff, the joy in my heart became more real. Almost at the same time as he was staring at the epidemic doctor. Ding! The crisp system beep finally came to mind. SCP-049 containment successful. Rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a controllable version of SCP-049. Oh, it's settled. Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly, and he turned his head to look at the system panel that popped up. Controllable version of SCP-049 Epidemic Doctor, a doctor dedicated to eradicating the plague, who is good at surgery. SCP will be hostile to human individuals that he believes to be affected by the plague. SCP-049 can stop all physiological functions of organisms through direct skin contact. For dead individuals, SCP-049 will usually take out the black medical bag it carries with it and use the instruments inside to perform rough surgery. The success rate is not 100%. Resurrected individuals will obey SCP-049 orders. Owner Lin Xiu can control it under normal conditions. When the breath of the plague is cleaned and the power exceeds the upper limit, there is a probability of ushering in the gaze of Galway and entering a special form. Note, after the high-dimensional projection comes, SCP-049 will be out of control, Please use it carefully. Apocalypse 4 Horsemen. There's a fifth one. Isn't it normal? It really is a plague. Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly. From the time when SCP-049 and Ancient One confronted each other just now, when it transformed into a special night posture. Lin Xiu guessed some clues. The green horse spear isn't that the plague knight among the 4 horsemen of apocalypse. Now, from the panel narration, it can almost be hammered. SCP-049 Plague Doctor. It is the plague mentioned in the conversation between God and Joker Barber in Eschatology. That is, the 5th of the 4 horsemen of apocalypse, the Plague Knight. So, what is the plague you want to eradicate? Lin Xiu raised his eyebrows. There's a bit of curiosity on the face. I am the source of the plague. I also prevent the birth of the plague. I will save the end. SCP-049's firm voice sounded, and under Lin Xiu's complete control, the epidemic doctor spoke the answer. It's the content obscure as ever. Lin Xiu tried to continue to ask in depth, but the answers he got were basically the same. Can only say, psychopaths have broad minds. The thinking mode of SCP-049 obviously has a generation gap with normal people. In the vague content, Lin Xiu can only confirm that the supernormal SCP-049 is indeed a plague knight, but what SCP-049 usually does is to prevent the spread of the plague and eliminate the traces of the plague. I kill myself? It makes sense. Very reasonable. Ding. The containment of SCP-049 is complete. Do you want to start drawing the 10th contained item for exposure and arrival? Yes, Apricot. Just when Lin Xiu asked D-Class personnel to put SCP-049 into a separate room for containment. The system beep sounds again. It is a familiar formula and a familiar taste. Casual and casual. In the streamer, the content that jumped out made Lin Xiu's eyes fixed. It's actually her. Lin Xiu's gaze narrowed slightly, and he barely looked away from the light and shadow. This time, the contents he drew were a bit beyond his expectations. It's going to be a hell of a problem. If it is not handled properly, there may be unpredictable future wishes. Choose where to put it. Lin Xiu whispered softly. From the phantom of the open map, according to the origin of the contained object, I found a barely suitable place for her. Pioneer Technology Building. The surroundings have been smashed into scorched earth ruins. Because a ray of divinity came from the 3 dead brothers, Ancient One couldn't even go back in time. These innocent people can only be allowed to die tragically. In the center of Yingjiang's empire, another piece of scorched earth 30 kilometers away from Fengyuan appeared. And because of the intrusion of unknown forces. In this land, the vitality has been completely wiped out, and it will be scorched for at least a few hundred years. Call out Clark, are you okay? Bruce, who turned into Batman, rushed over quickly, showing concern in the small half of his face. The Flash is right next to him. Keeping up with the extreme speed of the Batmobile is just a small matter for the Flash. Good. No big deal. Superman shook his head, his blank eyes coming into focus. He glanced around the field. It's a pity that Ancient One has already left through the portal, so if I want to thank you, it seems that I have to do it next time. Thanks to your new battle suit. Superman had a grateful face, and there was a bit of fear in his eyes that hadn't dissipated. SCP-049 is just insane. If it weren't for the new battle suit developed by Batman, which greatly enhanced his absorption and utilization of the sun's yellow light, it would be difficult for him to survive the battle until the Ancient One appeared. But cost. Superman raised his head and looked at the obvious dark spots on the sun with a serious expression on his face. Could it be that I extracted too much yellow light from the sun? Superman frowned into the word Chuan, feeling a little self-blame in his heart. You're fine. That monster didn't affect your body. Bruce frowned, reached out to touch Superman's body, and used the tester that came with the battle suit to give Superman a basic full-body test first, and the action was a little eager. Superman patted his chest. He was very informative about his powers. Hey, buddy, I don't think this is a good place to chat. The Flash scratched his head. Point to the screen above the sky. And that damn thing seems to be starting again. In the dimly lit screen, The countdown clock starts to turn again, which means that a new storm will start again. Superman and Bruce frowned. Compared to other side details, abnormality comes, but that is the most important thing. Countdown to exposure of the 10th contained object. 1752 SHILD. Is it the 10th item? Nick Fury frowned, with a dignified expression. Containment. It's all about distorting reality, and it's all right for anyone the world is in turmoil of terror. Cause global, even level universe contention. 2. Such a monster. Fast forward to the 10th coming. Nick Fury pinched the center of his brows, forced himself to calm down, and calm down his mood. Now, far from being the time to slack off. No matter what, the Earth still needs to be maintained, and people don't want to survive. Sun mutation. How's it going? Nick Fury looked up at Phil Coulson next to him. Currently, it is still under control. 583. The Mage of Camartage resisted the impact of particles with a magic barrier, and the God King of Asgard stabilized the orbit of the Earth with the Spear of Eternity. Everything is getting on the right track one after another. According to the analysis of the doctors, it only takes a period of time to adapt, and the Earth can adapt to the storm. This time, the Son of the Sun can be regarded as a speed pass. Phil Coulson held a large pile of file folders and reported in a systematic manner. As for Sunshine, it is the official name defined for this sun mutation. Fortunately, there are magic and gods to take action. Only when the situation is stabilized will they have time to mend it. Time. What we lack the most is time. Nick Fury sighed quietly. The Dark One, I looked at the constantly jumping clock. Countdown. 9 hours and 23 minutes. Asgard, the strength of Ancient One. Odin frowned tightly. In this battle, except for the glimpse of the supreme divinity, the pride of the Protoss in Odin's heart was completely destroyed. The terrifying strength of Ancient One also caused huge amounts of shock to him. Totally unexpected. Ancient One has become so strong. To know. Previously, he was only afraid of Ancient One's time gem. Ancient One's real hard power is definitely below him. After owning the Fountain of Youth and breaking the limit, I should be able to finally overwhelm her. But the power displayed in the battle of Ancient One. Horrible evil. Indescribable divine brilliance. Ancient One. The speed at which she becomes stronger is too fast. Odin shook his head, his expression becoming more serious. Next, he must find an opportunity to become stronger from the next containment as soon as possible. Soon. Odin half closed his eyes, trying to calm himself down. Countdown. 5 hours and 8 minutes Mutant Academy. In this wave of the times, we mutants need more force. Professor X spoke loudly. Serious gaze. He looked at Kim beside him. If the Phoenix Force in her body is activated and used normally, it will definitely become the calendar area of the mutant wrist. It is also mutant, going to the world stage, an indispensable force. We are too weak. Professor X shook his head. Compared to those monsters, mutant is really nothing. It must be done as soon as possible. Time is running out. Professor X looked up at the sky. No one knew what the next contained object would be. In a precarious world, no one dares to bet their hopes on the future. Countdown. 0 hours 29 minutes ding. Countdown to 0. Exposure. The 10th Containment Object SCP. Chapter 082. Succubus Girl Gia. A terrifying SCP that charms all beings and brings the world back to the beginning. Exposure. 10th Containment Object SCP. 166 Succubus Girl Gia. PS. Combine the two before and after the redo. The screen slowly lights up. What appeared on the screen was a beautiful girl. The snow-white skin is as smooth as milk, and you can feel the silkiness through the screen. It can be broken by blowing bombs, and it is as delicate as Oriental silk. Appears to be an adolescent female human of European descent, but has hoofed animal features, with antlers, hooves, and short tail characteristics somewhat like a reindeer niece. But compared with these special things on the outside, what made countless people stare out their eyes? It was the clothes on her body, wearing nothing. It is the costume of the Succubus Girl Gia. Like a pure white and flawless flower, all the buds are exposed. The long golden hair, like the color of the sun, fell down on her body like a waterfall, forming the only shield for the succubus girl Gia. It seems to cover the important parts, but in fact it's better not to cover anything. The temptation of half hugging the peepa and half covering the face will only make people's heart ready to move, making it even more unbearable. It's just like there was a small flame burning. SCP-166 has a special body. Even the softest clothing will cause her skin ulcers within 45 minutes after wearing it. So SCP-166 does not need to wear clothing for health reasons. Exposure video. The appropriate interpretation of the subtitles instantly triggered a storm of depression. This is too harsh, no? Is it too perverted? There is such a containment. Quick, let me go. I want to destroy her on behalf of the motherland. Sacrifice for justice, don't pity me. I heard the abacus upstairs in Aozhou. I heard it all in eagle sauce. I heard in Mao Bear soon. The bustling formation appeared on the internet. The bullet screens all neatly formed a row, and various place names appeared frequently on the internet. The succubus girl Gia, her special form that appears. Many people have let go of their worries, especially many ISPs who fell in minutes. Appearance is justice, not just talk. Dr. The succubus girl Gia is still so innocent. Give out benefits as soon as you come up. Surely you won't be a bad person. A fat man typed a paragraph on the keyboard. It resonated with countless people in an instant, and after a bunch of likes, it was directly pushed to the top of the popularity list. But this is what the common people think. For the leaders of the top forces who hold great power, as well as the powerful superheroes, they will definitely not be so superficial. Pretty or something, they have seen so much. Absolutely not to be taken lightly. Nick Fury slapped the table. In the conference room, the same words have been said many times, so that other people have an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Phil Coulson scratched his head. The director is really not the usual long-winded. He is almost catching up with himself. Military men with strong blood and vigor have the weakest resistance to this aspect. The sound of heavy breathing soon sounded in the war room. The surrounding air became inexplicably hot, and the temperature suddenly rose, making it a little stuffy. Snort. The army generals patted the table unhappily. They are all fools who are dazzled by beauty. If it is not for the shortage of manpower, you must cut troops and clean up. If you can't calm down, you can go out and calm down. The army general's cold eyes swept across the audience, and the temperature in the space instantly dropped, and no one dared to look up. In front of the screen, the melon eaters reacted fiercely. Expose what's in your video. It also opens slowly downwards. SCP-166 has a special ability to suppress male humans. When seeing her, 100% of the male test subject became obsessed with her and tried to have sexual contact with her, regardless of their original sexual orientation. After leaving the influence of SCP-166, 70% of the test subject's special impulse will disappear, but for the other 30%, this impulse will become a dangerous compulsive symptom. They will not hesitate to resort to violent means to contact SCP-166. Even through clear memory, it is only effective in 43% of the cases, and the rest of the victims can only be executed. SCP-166, who lived in the monastery since childhood, according to the nun, was sent here by a person with no special features, claiming to be a descendant of an ancient creature with great power. However, attempts to find her mother, without exception, have all failed and become the unsolved mystery of SCP-166. Tick, tick. The text tapped and fell on screen. The large series of subtitles that appear, taken together, are saying one thing. Succubus, like the succubus in Legendary. However, the effect is infinitely stronger. Everyone who saw her would fall in love with her unreasonably and become her captive. In a sense, for male noble phantasms, beauty. This time the containment is so simple. Odin frowned. The last mentioned mysterious ancient creature, although a little dreadful, has not been confirmed. Capturing male charm, Odin stared slightly, feeling that things were not that simple. It has always been a twisted rule, a containment that is above the world. But this time it is so simple. It looks like a human-demon hybrid. Beauty only. For the real strong, it is not worth mentioning at all. Is it really easy this time? Odin murmured softly. Asgard's aesthetics are different from Midgard's. Anyway, he has a high resistance to these, including Thor and Loki. Odin has faith in them all. Asgard has not heard of anyone who is addicted to beauty, delaying Yin Yang's precedent. Stark industrial building, the charm that fascinates all men. Pepper frowned and looked suspiciously at someone beside him. Hey. Little Pepper, what's the matter with your suspicious eyes? Listen to me. I've changed completely, and I'm now the Iron Man who saves the world. Tony frowned so much that he jumped up. Putting down the mechanical repair in his hand, he turned to look at Zaijiali. I think you should know for yourself, Little Pepper frowned. You should have just come back from the bar last night. My Mr. Iron Man, your suit is still stained with the aroma of the reception. Oh, listen to me. It's just a new era of industrial development and the friendship of science and technology. Tony still wanted to quibble, but he looked at Pepper more and more seriously. He finally stretched out his hand and made a gesture of surrender. Okay, my little Pepper, this time it's the containment, so I won't touch it. Use the mecha, let the mecha troops attack, and deal with it. A succubus and legendary. Maybe even some demon spells. Mecha troops are enough to deal with it. Tony spoke confidently. The autonomous combat mech he designed has been developed to the Ultron 3 type with the assistance of the completion program. The brand new mecha of the 3rd generation is absolutely terrifying beyond imagination. This time, it just so happened to be the perfect opportunity to make an appearance. To everyone, declare once again that what he said about the mechanical era is correct. Well, you may not have a chance this time. Just when Tony was feeling overwhelmed and impassioned, little Chili poured a pot of cold water down. On the pretty face, with a mocking expression, her outstretched hand pointed directly at the video screen. New content. Tony's eyes were fixed. He didn't care about Zaijiali's teasing and looked over with straight eyebrows. Around SCP-166, man-made objects will gradually return to their unprocessed state. More complex objects, such as electronic products and vehicles, will be affected more quickly. The more sophisticated the material, the greater the impact, and the degradation of metal components will occur within a few hours causing catastrophic structural failure. Such as items made using basic materials, such as stone buildings and organic material products, the rate of decay is almost imperceptible, and within the same range, plants will begin to sprout and grow wildly. The people in front of the screen, they just realized the place where the succubus girl Gia is located is just an ordinary stone house, which is completely different from the location where other humanoid containments appear. Original thought this was SCP-160 SIXS style. Now it seems it is most likely because of her passive diffusion, allowing man-made objects to return to their original impact. There is still such a containment. Tony frowned. He didn't care if he was pretty or not. With his status and status, all kinds of beauties are the kind that are sent into his arms. Tony never cares about the appearance of women, and it is impossible for anyone who can walk to him to be bad. What he is afraid of is the technology is invalidated. Passively restoring man-made objects to their unprocessed state is simply a godsend for precision mecha components. Shit, this is too targeted. Tony frowned unhappily, seeing this posture. This time the containment came. He was completely unable to intervene. Most control the situation on the periphery, playing corner handyman. The expression on Tony's face was a little dark. The same black face, definitely not only Tony, but also the rogues of the Security Council composed of major countries' technological weapons regress back to the original point. The restraint against them is definitely the greatest. The original machinery, heavy artillery, missiles, and even various high-tech technologies can only be laid aside. These things didn't play a big role in the arrival of the contained objects before, but the characteristic of SCP-166 is undoubtedly to completely extinguish the little flame in their hearts. Could it be that you can only watch? The top management of Yingjiang was not reconciled. No matter what, it is also a humanoid container. Moreover, SCP-166 seems to have the ability to communicate. It would be a pity to give it up directly, compared with the greed of the high-level Eagle Sauce. Nick Fury is obviously much more reliable. Rather than benefiting from it, Braised Egg cares more about the impact of SCP-166 on humans. Besides how to suppress, contain, and even solve her, it can make the surrounding artificial creations return to their original state. Melee firearms have a high probability of being ineffective against her. So, Remote, what about cloud bombs or even space-based weapons? There was a murderous intent in Nick Fury's one eye. SHIELD, because of organizational characteristics, it is difficult for them to hold ultimate weapons such as nuclear bombs. But they never lack other powerful weapons. Gritting your teeth, you can take out cloud bombs, thermobaric bombs, including space-based weapons. Different from the greedy Eagle Sauce. Nick Fury, more used to playing it safe, tried to kill Danger and Cradle King. But if SCP-166 is forcibly killed, looking at a line of words on the exposure screen, Nick Fury frowned. Suspected. Some ancient, mysterious, son of a creature. What if something more terrifying exists? The three dead brothers standing behind the SCP-049 epidemic doctor scared the hearts of countless people. An array of divinity could usher in the heat death of the universe and death. Forcefully kill SCP-166. What if another big guy is released? TJ, be careful. With a constipated expression on his face, Liu Dan gritted his teeth and removed his finger from the launch button of the space-based weapon. Let's see if there is any other way to contain it. If it doesn't work, then consider using space-based weapons to focus on destruction. Kian's, just when the marinated egg was anxious. Canopy, the ever-changing video screen, finally came to the end and went to a freeze frame. Ding! The 10th containment item SCP-166 Succubus Girl Gia. Arrival. At the same time, somewhere in Eagle Sauce country, outside a simple and majestic, large-scale cathedral. Sudden, a young and beautiful blonde girl appeared. Psalms came faintly from a church. The sun shines on her body, and the light-colored fluff seems to be plated with pure gold. The blonde girl is set off like an angel descending to earth, full of indescribable holiness. However, when a male stared at her body, boom! First, the eyes brighten up and emit light, like a high-power light bulb. Then, heavy breathing, flushed face, congested head, numb body, boiling blood. The responses have been mixed. But, without exception, it's all utter obsession. In an instant, he became the girl's slave, and his heart was completely captured. SCP-166 has arrived. Bang, rumbling, clang. All kinds of natural disasters and man-made disasters exploded one after another in the surrounding area. Because of obsession with the appearance of SCP-166, some people lost their minds while driving and directly hit the rear end of the car they met. The car head in front doesn't mind either. Walking down from the parking space, he looked at SCP-166 obsessively and was obviously completely captured. Countless men have become her captives one after another. All kinds of equipment creations, visible to the naked eye, return to the original, turning into ugly iron sheets. In the crowd, a tall man stands out. Like a doctor with a nameplate on his chest, Bruce Banner. Chapter 083, Crazy Hulk. Stone Age, the Shattered Spear of Eternity. Military internal prison Banner. Damn it, why is that guy there too? Ross' pupils shrunk. Although he's been locked in prison, Ross's understanding of the outside world has never been cut off. Light curtain projection overwhelming. As long as you want to see, there is no concept of invisible. Looking up at the sky, even in the bottom of the abyss, you can get relevant exposure video content from the concept of sky. Just like blind people can see these content, and it is regarded by countless people as one of the SCPs beyond the concept. Damn it, I want to meet the general. Quick, open the communication for me. Ross' eyes widened, and the moment he saw Banner, chills rushed up his spine. That rascal, Definitely a monster beyond imagination. I haven't had much contact with Banner, but a few collisions are enough for Ross to know that there is a terrifying monster inside Banner. Definitely no less than any superhero monster. And the most important is, Hulk's attributes are hard to define, but Banner. He's a real human male. He was also successfully charmed. So fast. Nick Fury's pupils shrank. As for the Green Titan Banner's information, SHILD definitely has archives inside, and Marinated even thought about inviting him to join the Avengers Alliance. However, because Banner's whereabouts were not found, it was temporarily stranded. He's actually here, and still successfully charmed by SCP-166. Nick Fury's expression changed suddenly. He suddenly felt that he should re-examine the charm of SCP-166. For human males, the effect is too domineering. But, I still have to find a way first to control the Green Titan who is charmed by SCP-156. Once an angry gesture appears, the damage caused is no less than a small war cleansing the ground. Let the female agent pass by, and the male superheroes are all suspended, under the premise of not disturbing the Green Titan in his body. First control Banner and bring it back. Then try to contain and subdue SCP-166. Firearms are easy to break, and it is better to choose an agent who is proficient in melee combat. Nick Fury calls the shots. The reaction speed is quite fast, and the deployment of his subordinates was arranged almost immediately. 2. It's still too late. Boss, I think we need to change 373 ways. Phil Coulson looked at the screen with a stiff expression and pointed to the picture in the video. What? Nick Fury's expression was a little stiff, and there was a bad feeling in his heart. Turned. The bad feeling in my heart was fully implemented. Thor, I don't know when it actually descended on the battlefield. In the background behind him was an open portal, most likely Doctor Strange's method. The stewed eggs can only be thankful. Only Thor came out of the portal. Doctor Strange was still watching and did not end rashly. Otherwise, they would have to face the combination of Thor and Mage really lucky. Lucky fart. With a dark face, Nick Fury slapped the desk directly. Thor's entry made the whole thing start to develop in an uncontrollable direction. His strength. Looking at the Avengers Alliance, it is a well-deserved top 3. And to choose a woman who can overwhelm him? Absolutely not. Braised eggs. Everyone is numb. Boom. The thunder that smashed the sky and covered the earth landed. Thor wears the Thor armor and appears in an extremely domineering posture. Succubus girl Gia? Let me, Thor, arrest you myself. Thor looked arrogant. He is a born warrior. It is absolutely impossible to bow his head because of beauty. Thor, full of confidence, rushed up directly. Then at a faster speed, GG was played. Almost at the moment Thor saw SCP-166, his movements froze for a moment. The forward steps froze in midair. It lasted for an insignificant second. Original. Thor charged towards SCP-166 aggressively, threatening to suppress her. Reddish eyes, breathing heavily, brain congested. Unexpectedly, he was suddenly captured by the charm of SCP-166 and became a captive of her beauty. She's so innocent, so beautiful, so holy. I am Thor. No one will allow anyone to harm her. Thor blushed. The corner of the mouth murmured in a low voice, and blurred eyes appeared in his eyes. It was as if he regarded SCP-166 as the girl in his heart, and the heavy panting sound was the most instinctive biological impulse towards her. How can this be? Odin's eyeballs nearly popped out. Just now. He himself swears by it. The Asgard Protoss are extremely brave races, and they will never be tempted by beauty. Result, in less than a blink of an eye, Thor was charmed by SCP-166 and dazzled by instinct. No, something is wrong. Odin's eyes were cold. He knew Thor's character. To put it bluntly, he was a muscular fool. He didn't have much concept of women in his head. Ellis, the influence of this containment is not superficial beauty at all. Her charm is the power zone of a dry concept. Odin's pupils shrunk. The God King, who had experienced many battles, quickly guessed the clue. Bifrost stretched beneath his feet. Odin grimaced and was just about to go to Midgard and get Thor back himself. However, just as he stepped out, Odin suddenly paused when he saw SCP-166 in the picture. He thinks, it doesn't seem so safe to end in person. The characteristics of the contained objects are really terrifying. They are all existences beyond the rules. Who knows if he can resist this kind of influence? Odin, whose inner pride is almost smoothed out, couldn't help hesitating. Step back. Quietly, Mimi returned to the throne. With a wave of his right hand, the spear of eternity hurled itself toward Midgard. Let his power of Odin be blessed on the spear of eternity and hit a full blow. So, should be enough? Odin murmured at the corner of his mouth, with a somewhat uncertain expression on his face. This is close to his full blow. It should be more than enough to deal with the succubus girl. Instantly, Meteor fell to the ground. The eternal lance pierced through the 9 realms and came to Midgard with the terrifying power of Odin. Eyes locked on SCP-166 trying to kill her. No, Thor yelled. Thor, who has been completely charmed by SCP-166, absolutely cannot accept the goddess and his heart being hurt. Lightning flashes. The terrifying power of thunder burst out on Thor. It spread around like a spiderweb. The electromagnetic gravitational force attracts countless vehicles on the ground into the air. Facing Odin's attack and throw, Thor revealed an unprecedented reality. However, your dad is your dad after all. Odin's God King position is obviously not blown out. Odin, who was shot with real knives and real guns, is not something Thor can touch porcelain at all without his aging body holding him back. The barrel of the gun makes contact with the hammer. Not long, Thor fell into a slump. On the body of the gun, the rune words were shining brightly, and the power shot out, and Thor was directly sent flying. The dreadful power of Odin swallows on the lance of eternity. With unstoppable force, it penetrates towards SCP-166. However, the flower protector of the succubus girl Gia is obviously not just the hammer god Thor. Hulk smash, Hulk attack. A savage roar sounded from below, like a terrifying prehistoric beast. Banner, who was a burly man in the last second. Next second, it turned directly into a green-skinned Hulk. Green Titan barbaric debut. It turns out, after Banner was affected by SCP-166, even if he entered the Hulk posture, he still couldn't resist the charm. Put your guns away. The roar of the Green Titan came from below. Bend your knees and press down. Then the whole person rose into the sky like a green arrow. With its astonishing jumping ability, the Green Titan leaped hundreds of meters in an instant, abruptly intercepting the attack of the Eternal Spear. There is also an invisible force emanating from SCP-166. The lines of light on the Spear of Eternity are still blurred, and the various enchantments and alchemy on it seem to be gradually erased. Get out! The greater the anger, the greater the power. Crazy Green Titan with terrifying powers. Even Odin's attack. There is no way to cause a devastating attack on him. With the power of infinite iterations and explosive growth, as the Green Titan's arm continued to expand, he finally touched the gun of eternity abruptly in his hand. No matter how brilliant the rune words were, he couldn't break free from his power. God King Odin once again fell on the earth. It's my God. What the hell is that monster? God King Odin lost again. Isn't it outrageous? We still have such a terrifying superhero on Earth. The comments on the internet exploded in an instant. Although Odin has been deflated again and again, he is still a God King, and the power of the broken star is already very terrifying. Just roll over in front of the containment. It was really shocking to be defeated by an unknown strongman. No, more than Green Titan power. Nick Fury fixed his eyes, observed him carefully, and found out more than anyone else. Gun of Eternity. The lines on the gun body seemed to have become a lot blurred. Kill demon? Break the law? The Green Titan has never shown such power. According to the information collected by the military and SHIELD, the strength of the Green Titan is mostly in the dimension of power. Could it be SCP-166? Nick Fury frowned slightly, looking at the video screen solemnly. Definitely the containment. Odin's face was black, and he spoke firmly. He could clearly feel that the various magic lines engraved on the eternal spear, as well as the stars, were fading. From the gun that nails everything, the gun of miracles, to the metal degeneration of the common. It's just like being invisible with the strength. He forcibly retreated and returned to the original state. Magic is also within its scope of influence. Odin's pupils shrunk, stunned and speechless. That's right. SCP-166 gradually restores the surrounding objects to their original effects. Not just for technology. Even a magic power attached to the weapon is also a kind of man-made processing. It is also within the scope of restoring the original. My Kunganir, Odin's pupils shrank. The gun of eternity that had just been bitten into pits by SCP-682 soon ushered in the restoration of SCP-160 SXS power and was already moving towards the golden. The form is approaching. Pocket Space Tisk. The integrated version is different. Lin Xiu couldn't help but smacked his lips. Even he was a little surprised by the special situation of SCP-166. A combination of old and new. The name of SCP-166 in the two postures has also become the integrated succubus girl Gia. Charms male humans and restores artifacts to raw. Two abilities can be integrated in one panel at the same time. And the effect of the latter has also become countless times stronger. Original. Artifacts can only be returned to their raw state within a 15-meter radius around SCP-166. However, now this influence has been erased and limited in scope and will continue to spread over time. Just started. Maybe only 15 categories. However, with the passage of time, this effect has been expanded 100 times. On the battlefield, a circle of several kilometers has been formed. All the technological products inside have decayed, and various vines have broken through the ground from the corners. Gun of Eternity. It can no longer be called a gun. There is only a rough stick left, and it won't be long before it can completely transform back to a metal shape. Hiss! Countless people gasped. In the age of science and technology, under the influence of SCP-166 in the blink of an eye, we have gone back to the Stone Age. SCP-160 SIXS effects were left unchecked to expand. It won't be long. The Industrial Age, which humans have spent hundreds of years evolving, is about to be regressed back to the primitive wilderness. Moreover, the characteristics of the succubus girl Gia directly ignore the male superhero, and the more they come, it just strengthens her combat power and increases her flower guardians. Now, it's our mutant turn to save the world. Professor X's exciting voice sounded. Mutant has held back for so long. It's finally their turn to step onto the stage of the times. Don't worry. Leave it to us. Kin huffing thug girl patted her chest confidently. Good. Professor X looked at Kin, who was tired but had unusually bright eyes, and his confidence instantly increased. And they're not the only ones fighting this time. Monster, look here. The cold voice of arrogant humming sounded on the field, breaking the silence on the field. Scarlet radiance blooms. It illuminated the faces of countless men on the field. Let their flushed faces become more bright red, as if they were about to bleed. Under the crimson power that distorts reality, Wanda rushed to the battlefield with the vast origin magic power surging in both hands. Capture the thief first and capture the king. She is female, so she will not be affected by SCP-160 SIXS power. Origin magic power erupted, gathered on SCP-166, and headed towards her to suppress it. Chapter 084. The Divinity Comes. Kate, 9927, Black Goddess. Call finally caught up. Nick Fury breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Braised Eggs has a flexible mind and thought of Scarlet Witch Wanda in time. In pursuit of SCP-096 Shyman. Wanda awakening, The burst of crimson power refreshed the three views of countless people and made the name of Scarlet, which completely circulated in the lists of major organizations. But in the end, the PY ability of the marinated egg is awesome. Relying on the excellent deception ability, he forcibly recruited Scarlet, which into an extra combat force of H-Shield Shock Team is not on Earth. On Earth's female Ultramile, it's hard to find a strong match for Thor. But Wanda is different. The terrifying power of origin magic power. Even the Ancient One must fear. Get the hell out of here, Wanda growled under her breath. The origin magic power fully bloomed, and the terrifying power bloomed with her as the original heart, raging continuously to the surroundings. With the remaining sanity, Wanda did not cause widespread damage. Instead, let the power of Crimson, like a rope, bind the man who is addicted to the influence of SCP-166. In her roaring, constantly voice, a person was hoisted into the sky, and the crimson power was continuously entwined, like silk wrapped in a cocoon. The figures who were dazzled by their physiological instincts all fell into a stagnation. Crimson power, the power to twist the world. This is more than just talk. Even though Scarlet, which has not yet reached the peak level, but the strength of terror is still not to be underestimated. Is it over? Nick Fury breathed a sigh of relief. I am happy for my successful deception to Wanda. In one eye, the gaze moved slightly. Braised Dan is already thinking about how to turn Tutu, a non-staff member of Wanda, into an official member of the Avengers Alliance. Just awakening is so scary. The potential of Scarlet, which is no less than that of Scarlet Witch, once successfully joined. For the Avengers Alliance, the strength is definitely a qualitative leap. Unlike Team Shock, who need to help the Kree find their homeland and spend most of their time in Fugue, Wanda is a real power of the Earth and can be used anytime, anywhere. Practicality is not too strong. Just when a marinated egg was thinking about it. Picture on the screen. Instantly, his eyes widened. What? How can it be? Nick Fury looked at the screen in disbelief. Hulk smash. Hulk attack. A beast-like roar sounded from the Green Titan. The angrier you are, the stronger you are. Infinite power swelled on the Green Titan, and its size quickly became more than 10 times larger. Then, relying on pure strength, he actually forcibly tore the shackles of the Crimson Power. How can it be? Wanda's pupils shrank, and she was shocked and speechless. Fila. Thunder flashes. Soon, Thor also broke free from the shackles of the Crimson Power. Oddly enough, the meow hammer in his hand does not seem to be affected by the effect of SCP-166. Maybe it is the particularity of the material of the meow hammer, or maybe it is the special care of SCP-166 for him. The answer is unknown, but sure enough, Wanda is in trouble. Thor and the Green Titan looked at her covetously. Under the influence of special power, they have become crazy suitors of SCP-166, and they will jointly attack outsiders, especially the Green Titan. Under the influence of SCP-166, the strength of another personality in Banner's heart seems to have increased countless times. Boom! Absolute power almost blinded Wanda, and we rumble. A terrible storm rose into the sky. In the dazzling lightning, Storm and Kin appeared together. The two female mutants both have impressive powers, and once they appear on the stage, the situation will change suddenly. But just them. Nick Fury frowned, with suspicion in his eyes. It's not that he looks down on it, but the strength of Storm Girl and Kin is basically obvious to all. Although the strength is not weak, among the superheroes, it can barely occupy the middle and upper reaches of the level. But compared to the first-line Thor, and the Green Titan who is gradually breaking the rules, not enough. Nick Fury shook his head, his expression becoming more serious. He lowered his head and frowned tightly. Try to find a few powerful female superheroes from the memory and reverse the situation in a short time. The power of the storm? Odin shook his head, endured the pain, and looked away, not caring about the eternal gun. Focus on the battlefield. Storm super ability is not bad, but compared with Thor, it is far behind. As for the other, ordinary mind control, psychokinesis rotation, and the simplest use of super abilities. Even more insignificant, not enough. Odin shook his head, simply making a comment. It's a pity that Ancient One had to meditate for a period of time to suppress the balance of power in her body, because she overabsorbed the power of the dark dimension. Otherwise, if she made a move, she would definitely be able to easily saw the target. Pity. Odin shook his head. I feel a little sorry for the radical behavior of the mutant group. It's just hitting a stone with an egg. No, Charles wouldn't be so stupid. Magneto shook his head. The one who knows you best is always your enemy. Magneto is undoubtedly the person most familiar with Professor X's personality. With his cautious and steady character, he will never play the ace in his hand without being absolutely sure. He still has the ridiculous ideal of the peaceful coexistence of mutant and human beings in his heart. There is no absolute certainty. He certainly won't take it lightly. Must. And something else. Magneto frowned, racking his brains, trying to figure it out. But, quickly, he's a no-brainer, because the answer has already emerged clearly. Her super ability is so terrifying. How is this possible? Magneto stared fixedly at the screen. This, can't even call it super ability? On the battlefield, dazzling flames soared into the sky. The phantom of the majestic phoenix intertwined on Jean Grey. As if a god descended, the almost infinite power in her body allowed her to instinctively manipulate the surrounding matter and energy molecules, and all the power obeyed her changes. Mental power is fully awakened. The peaceful expression turned into an indifferent look, like an ancient god overlooking the world. Sunshine turns into a diamond. Scrap iron turned into gold. Would become steel. All material conversions are just a thought for Phoenix, even if it's just Professor X intervening. Awakening forcibly catalyzed, the temporary burst of combat power is still beyond everyone's imagination, crossing all timelines, surpassing the multi-universe, the strongest power in mutant. Various titles are added to it, even if it's just a young, ecological Phoenix forcibly catalyzed. Terrible power, same as expected. The power of the Green Titan can indeed be enhanced without limit. After continuous expansion, it is enough to crush the horror of the multi-universe. However, Banner's body and spirit obviously cannot bear this kind of unlimited impact. Boom. Giant vibration. The impact of the Phoenix Force eventually overloaded him, causing him to lose all strength and pass out directly. Asgard Phoenix Force. There is such a power in Midgard. Odin's pupil shrank. Phoenix Force comes from the primordial universe, was born at the beginning of all things, is the immortal, eternal but impermanent existence of chaos, and is the sun of the universe. It is the incarnation of life and spiritual power in the original universe. Symbolizing life and emotion, numerous definitions were imposed on her. An unchanged, powerful beyond imagination. The complete Phoenix Force, in a sense, is a power that can dominate the infinite universe. That is to say, if that mutant can fully activate the Phoenix Force, she can even manipulate any person or thing in the infinite multi-universe and change their rules at will. A supreme existence that is more divine than a god. Once, Odin stands ready, gathering the entire planet to deal with the deity's power of the Celestials. In front of her, it's like a child's play trick. Even though the current kin is far from the strongest in awakening, the Supreme Phoenix Force has endowed her with the power of immortality, and she is even number one in the multi-universe in terms of personality. Phoenix, the Observer frowned. Something beyond the timeline appeared again. According to the normal progress, Phoenix Force shouldn't have woken up so early. Observers are eager to correct. But, looking at the containment on the Earth beyond common sense, he stopped immediately. Misfortune? There is no greater accident than this. The Observer sighed deeply, sat on the rock dejectedly, always feeling that something was wrong in this world. Immortality, a power beyond the universe. Dr. Manhattan's pupil shrank. He is one of the few strong men who can see the essence of Phoenix Force. His brows are slightly wrinkled, and his eyes are deep. Did not expect, besides the Foundation, is there such a terrifying power? Manhattan shook his head. This time the containment was too weird, and he had no interest in coming out. If judged, will I be counted as a human male? Dr. Manhattan stared slightly, looking at Blue's skin reflected in the glass, with a complicated expression. The mutant has risen, Nick Fury murmured under his breath. He had this feeling from seeing the Phantom of the Phoenix emerging from behind Kin, as if a god descended. Wait until Doctor Strange convey the words of Ancient One and tell him the concept of Phoenix Force. This idea is completely settled in my heart. The power of the mutant? Perhaps. I can. Nick Fury frowned. The almost instinctive power of PY began to move again. Phoenix shockwave. The brilliance of the flame soared into the sky, and a shockwave in the shape of a phoenix swept forward. It easily defeated the extremely powerful Green Titan. Thor was even knocked out by the aftermath. Phoenix does not need to control the power file size at all. Anyway, Phoenix has with the power of resurrection. Deadman can be resurrected casually, which is completely an instinct for him. Under absolute power, the army of SCP-160 SXS Flower Guardian Messenger soon ushered in a large-scale attrition. It is also targeted early. Otherwise, when Xiaoying fell one by one and was affected by the power of SCP-166, the young ecological phoenix might not be able to hold on. Still, apparently there are no assumptions in the world. Get out of our time. A majestic roar rang out from Phoenix, as if it came from the judgment of the gods. Endless Phoenix force blooms, pressing towards SCP-166. Without those crazy Flower Messenger shots, Phoenix quickly suppressed SCP-166-C, humanity's first successful containment case, to be born in full view. Next moment, no, don't kill me. I am afraid. The succubus girl Gia stared at her with tears in her eyes. The Catholic rosary is turning in his hand, as if he is praying for the protection of the gods. Phoenix is not a man, definitely not affected by SCP-160 SIXS effects. But the rosary spinning in SCP-160 SIXS hand. The invisible fluctuations bloomed on her body, spreading outward like ripples. Light and shadow emerged behind her. Terrible fluctuations soared into the sky, and the surrounding space emitted bursts of ripples, as if unable to bear this terrifying existence. It began to collapse inch by inch. The breath continued to expand. It's just like some kind of terrifying existence is coming. The Phantom continued to expand, and before the arrival of the Phoenix Force, it had already swelled to the point that it covered the sky and the sun. Before Phoenix's attack arrives, divinity blooms. It was clearly an illusory figure, but it actually stretched out its arms from nothingness. Delicate and fair, like white jade lotus root-like arms. Just a glimpse. It can make countless people affirm that this is definitely an extremely elegant goddess, and people can't help but yearn for it. However, it is such a white arm, stretching out from nothingness, gently probing towards Phoenix, who was rushing forward, unexpectedly suppressed her strength forcefully. With a lift of the palm, pinching Phoenix's vitals is like holding a little chicken. The terrifying Phoenix Force was in front of her. It was like a joke. Manipulator? Travel back in time and space? Mind control? All kinds of appalling powers are useless in front of him. The radiance of divinity blooms. Forcibly suppressed Phoenix. The Phoenix shockwave, which was still looking down at him just now, was all caught by him with one hand. Undeniably powerful. Make countless people speechless. His familiar way of appearing on the stage, and his dazzling divine brilliance. I knew it. Nick Fury was pacing back and forth, growling and frowning and not feeling well. He knew that the content of those exposed texts should not be underestimated, let alone ignored. SCP-166 appears to be some kind of mysterious ancient existence. Isn't this confirmed? Moreover, judging by the posture, it is not ordinary ancient. The mighty brilliance flows, as if to replace the rules in the universe, forcibly replacing the original parameters. The domineering posture is exactly the same as the brilliance flowing from the three dead brothers, perhaps far inferior in strength and weakness. But the essence of power is definitely in legendary again, divinity. In other words, in SCP, another god descends, and this time God, apparently the mother of SCP-166, that ancient mysterious being 8. Chapter 085, Divinity versus Phoenix, a level 5 reality bender that is terrifying to the extreme. How can it be? Her unknown mother actually exists? Odin's pupils shrank. He really thought that in the written description of SCP-166, the suspected mysterious ancient mother did not exist. Or, even if it exists, it is dead or missing. Otherwise, Odin will never let Thor go to deal with SCP-166, let alone throw the gun of eternity with a decisive blow, trying to kill SCP-166 to save his own idiot unexpectedly. It is true, Odin's expression was gloomy, and he couldn't believe it. Their luck, it must be too unlucky. Exposure content. Those nuns in the monastery, members of the Foundation, try to find the mysterious mother of SCP-166 countless times, but fail to find it. Result, put in front of them. As soon as you start it, the whole thing pops out. The key is the opponent's terrifying strength. The power that replaces the concept of the rule of the universe, flowing through him, is absolutely another kind of divine brilliance. In terms of size, far less terrifying than the three dead brothers. But no matter what, he is also from the divinity in the SCP. And even more terrifying, he, the mother of SCP-166, the entity descended this time, from phantom to reality. Not like the three dead brothers, a ray of divine light leaked from outside the universe. Instead, truly walk out of nothingness. The first one, the divine coming from SCP. In real life, it's not good. The observer frowned and silently took out the lighter in his hand. It's just a means of killing each other. Once the 387 is used, even if the opponent can be killed and suppressed, the impact will definitely be beyond imagination. Perhaps when I try to make a shot, the observer's eyes were fixed and his heart was ready to move. But after thinking of the horror of the three dead brothers, the observer couldn't help but stop. Who can be sure that the strength of divinity in SCP is really related to breath? After those seemingly common containments erupted with real power, didn't they surprise countless people? The coming of the divine nature of the first SCP cannot be overstated. And SCP-166 is still there. Will I be affected? The observer, like Manhattan, had the same question in mind. Originally, observers who have spent billions of years sitting and watching the vicissitudes of the universe will never care about these things. The old man's confidence gave him the confidence to despise these anomalies. But after the Phantom of Death 3 appeared, his inner thoughts completely changed. A terrifying existence comparable to the 5 great gods of creation, or even surpassing the 5 great gods, is actually a member of SCP. The three brothers have a deep breath, and their metaphysical concepts transcend the universe. It's obviously not the shame of Lin Xiu, a god who created the world. It's surprising that observers are not afraid. Phoenix will go first. She's a woman and won't be affected. The observer paused and put the lighter in his hand into the Minister of Collection again. Goddess, an existence comparable to that god again. Get rid of the evil. Try to bring the two forces in the body back into balance and repress the controlled tongue change. Under the emotional turmoil, the two forces that were about to balance in the body almost collapsed. No, it's far inferior to that existence. Ancient One frowned. Having personally been in contact with the 3 dead brothers, she clearly knows the horror of the supreme divinity. Even if only a ray of divine radiance flows, it still brings death to the entire universe. If it hadn't been for the key machine to take the initiative to restrain in the end, even if she tried her best, it would be impossible to stop that kind of power. The divine radiance that appeared behind SCP-166 was significantly weaker, although still scary. but obviously not in order of magnitude. Ancient One frowned and continued to focus on his body. It's not that she doesn't want to make a move, but she couldn't do it because of the ray of brilliance against the supreme divinity before. The two forces in her body have been completely out of balance. If you don't try your best to suppress it and guide it back to the right track again, residing in her right eye, once the divine brilliance from the Dragon Mother dissipated. The impact on the Earth is absolutely no less than the previous horror. Kill. A pistol and a microcharger. Don't both have the same effect? All die once. Almost at the moment KT 9927 Black appeared. In a stagnant exposure frame, new content suddenly appeared, and the ink-like color was blurred into words to emerge. KT 9927 Black Goddess / Mother. Type. Divinity. The divinity that existed in prehistoric times possesses powerful power and is a terrifying reality bender. Her power is so powerful that it is like a curse that distorts her character. Designated as Type Black by the GOC. As a mother, she once fought against the god of war, Abel, after which Abel was sealed. SCP-166 was born together with Clef, the fourth Doctor of Apocalypse. It has multiple divinities, and the goddess and mother coexist. Exposure video. A scene of the fleeting battle between Mother and God of War, Abel, emerged. The towering figure stood on the ground. The divine radiance flows, and even the related concepts in the universe bow their heads as if she is part of the rule. Divinity playing is getting more and more interesting. The trick of confusing the real with the fake looks really good. Collectors sneered disdainfully. Must be another trick of some ancient civilization. Maybe it's a technological civilization from the surface of the Earth or a galaxy in the corner. The holographic projection is quite interesting, and it's quite realistic. But content? It's just too ridiculous. Supreme divinity? Unheard of. Now, another divinity has been formed, and this kind of power zone has never been heard of in the universe. He who is the ancient. Have enough confidence to overlook other civilizations, because his existence is originally a history book that transcends civilization. With billions of years of life and life, the universe has long lost its novelty in his eyes. All secrets cannot escape his eyes. Divinity? Supreme divinity? The universe? There is no such thing at all. It must be another conjecture made by some technological civilization about the gods. Collector shook his head. After living for countless years, he has long been indifferent to all kinds of weird things. Can't arouse his curiosity at all. However, divinity, projection, these interesting techniques are very suitable for his collection. In his collection, there's just a lack of gadgets to embellish. Set off. Go to the solar system. Midgard near Asgard. Collector's cold voice sounded. Have to say, Tet, got a little interested. Hee hee, hope you don't disappoint me. Collector turned the wrench in his hand. His eyes were full of cold eyes, if these gadgets could not meet the qualifications of his collection. He wouldn't mind having the whole globe shaped into glass beads to adorn his collection. Abel is the divinity of another god of war, known as God of War. Nick Fury frowned, trying to get some information down T. GOC. Sounds like an acronym for an organization. Could it be an organization similar to the Foundation? Nick Fury's eyes lighted up slightly, and there was a complicated look in them. If the answer is yes, B%, does it mean that, in fact, there are other organizations like the Foundation in the world that also have an understanding of the contained objects, and there may be more than one choice for human beings? Just when a certain black corned egg was thinking about it. KT 9927 Black. He also completely moved from nothingness to reality, from his arms to his body, all descended to the earth. The power of invisible blooms. Not 9927 Goddess, but Phoenix. The Phoenix Force on Jean Grey seemed to sense some danger. Actively broke the seal awakening. Beyond the multi-timelines, gained power from the primordial universe. The phantom of the Phoenix bloomed on her body, bathing in flames and turning into a phoenix skin, finally no longer a barely awakening juvenile body, but directly crossed the barrier of form and possess the real Phoenix Force. Now, not so much that she's Jean Grey. It is better to say that it is an individual boarded by Phoenix. The real core. It's the Phoenix, not kin. The core has been completely replaced by the Phoenix. Even if it is limited to the human body, it is impossible to make all the Phoenix sources appear. The Phoenix at this moment can at least show multi-level combat power, and countless timelines are changing behind her. Dominant diverse goods. Phoenix. It's a real Phoenix Force. Odin's pupils puckered. He was clearly a man of knowledge. It is different from the piano borrowed from Phoenix Force. Now, it is obvious that Phoenix sensed the crisis and took the initiative to lower the Phoenix Force. The difference? Before that, I used the Film Money account to try it out. The equipment is powerful, but the operation is a mess, and at most it can exert 2 or 3 out of 10 of its strength. Now, it's the technical masters who use the Film Money account to play on behalf of them, on the basis of powerful equipment. It also complements the terrifying technology, various super-level performances, and super gods all the way. Phoenix Force. Is the content in the video true? Collector's pupils shrank, and there was a bad feeling in his heart. But he was quickly suppressed. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. There is no divinity in the universe. The supreme divinity. It must be a fluke of that technological civilization. I have only heard about the Phoenix Force. Collector shook his head. It has to be said that the stronger and older the existence, the more deeply rooted the concept. It is definitely not an easy task to let them break their inherent cognition and accept new things. Hey, things are still so shattering. Call, the Phoenix is on the move. The observer couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Silently observing the universe, observers who have opened up to various cosmic events know the horror of the Phoenix. Even if it's because of the size of the world and fear of crowding the entire Earth, Phoenix can't come here in person. A burst of Phoenix Force can suppress countless existences. That is the Phoenix beyond the multi-universe. Observers are brimming with confidence. It seems to have seen the scene of the Phoenix showing great power and eliminating this weird SCP. No way. These weirder SCPs appeared one after another. The impact on them is too great, especially for the belief in the heart of the strong. It can be called a devastating blow. If there is a familiar local strong who can personally defeat and suppress SCP, it will definitely bring a lot of confidence to rekindle hope in your heart. It's been a crushing situation all the time. It's just too depressing. But luckily, Phoenix appeared. With her terrifying identity born in the original universe, she can definitely do it. The observer looked up confidently. 2. Exposing the content on the screen made his whole body almost crack. How can it be? How can this be? The short observer, looking at the picture on the screen, murmured silently with his eyes. The repeated content kept ringing, as if he lost his soul. On the battlefield, house, the Phoenix soars into the sky, and the terrifying Phoenix Force seems to distort the world and create diversity. However, it was such a horrible attack. After appearing on the battlefield, it was Goddess 9927 who greeted her with an understatement. The suet-white jade-like arm was gently raised. The power to distort reality explodes. Unlike most cases, which are only the top goddesses of level 4 twisters, after inheriting the divine power of Mother, this prehistoric 9927 completely exploded with real power. Reality benders. Level 5. Among the known levels, the most terrifying existence. Level 6 is already a well-deserved world destroyer level. The survival of the world is only in their mind. Level 5 reality bender. In many cases, it is already unimaginable horror, practicing power as she pleases. Just like her 2.5 temper that makes people headache, 9927's reality distortion power is equally terrifying. Facing the attack of Phoenix, it is completely a breeze. Indescribable. Can't understand. There is no way to describe the power of doing whatever you want, let alone define it. One thing is for sure. Phoenix was hanged and beaten by 9927. The battle on the battlefield is completely one-sided suppression. The Phoenix Force behind Kin's body kept collapsing. From the original universe, the power beyond the upper limit of the universe, Phoenix Force definitely will not worry about consumption and can be replenished at any time, but Kin's current body obviously has no way to support it. On the skin that was as white as snow, he could no longer bear the strength, and bleeding marks began to appear. Alien space, do you have to make a move? Ancient One frowned. Phoenix is cold. If you want to suppress 9927, you must have at least level Godfather or even higher strength. However, men dare not send out casually because they are afraid of the power of SCP-166. As for women, there are fewer superheroes than men, and they need a level above level Godfather. It is too difficult to find it on Earth in a short period of time. It's better for her to go directly to the top. But the two forces in her body are not yet fully balanced, and they may collapse at any time. Once she makes a move, they will basically die together. It is not so easy to sort out the collapse forces again. Basically a dead end. I am an Asgardian from the Earth dimension. Ancient One murmured softly, with a determined look on his face, just when she was about to sacrifice her life for righteousness and burn herself to make the final contribution. Sky, a new existence, appeared, fell, finally come. The corners of Ancient One's mouth raised slightly, and a smile appeared on his face. Originally, the determination to die together also disappeared a lot. Chapter 086, The Strongest Mephistus Sithorn, Power Beyond the Origin of the Universe. Outside the cathedral, even if you look at the whole world, it is an ancient church that ranks among the top, a holy place in the hearts of countless people. Now, but it was destroyed beyond recognition. Phoenix Force blooms, manipulating the power of material molecules, changing with her heart garden. The bricks flickered, converted into indestructible adamantine diamonds. It turned into countless spears and shot towards KT 9927. The terrifying gun body smashed everything. It doesn't even need time and directly ignores the speed and kinetic energy. The power instantly accelerated to the limit, and under the exaggerated kinetic energy, it directly penetrated the void. The invisible space seemed to be unable to carry this power, and it was torn apart with infiltrating cracks. Tens of millions of golden guns, diamond guns, meteorite guns, tungsten iron guns shot between heaven and earth. It seems that they are all intertwined into a kingdom of gods. In the magnificent scene, there is endless murderous intent. The power pierced by each spear is no weaker than a space-based strike from outer space, with huge amounts of kinetic potential energy penetrating. The damage of a broken point is even stronger than a meteorite falling, can easily shatter the ley lines. Among the melon-eating crowd in front of the screen, some even closed their eyes. I couldn't bear to see the beautiful young girl perish and died under the torture of being shot by thousands of guns. It was a little too cruel. However, the strength of KT 9927 is obviously far beyond imagination. Delicate fingertips point forward gently. The power of invisible spreads. The power of the reality bender instantly filled the audience. Beyond type green, the black type that symbolizes divinity. When the prehistoric mother divinity was crowned, standing next to SCP-166, she was more than a demigod. It is a true divinity worthy of the name. Retreat. The extremely flat voice fell, but it seems to be telling the most fundamental truth of the world. Order is reality, and if it is distorted in an instant, the kinetic potential energy on the gun body will be wiped out in an instant. The power to smash the ley lines and tear the space. After approaching KT 9927, the meteor-like attack changed from a streamer that could not be caught by the naked eye to a clearly visible spear. It's just like the stop button is pressed. 21. Countless people can clearly see the process of the gun body going from extreme speed to stillness. All offensive. Momentary stagnation. How can it be? Phoenix's eyes widened. She could understand the strength of KT 9927. After all, there are not a few terrifying strong men in the infinite world, but the strength shown by KT 9927 But Phoenix was surprised. What kind of super ability is this? Manipulating vectors? Stop time? It looks similar, but in actual contact, it can be found to be completely different. The weird power, like directly, fundamentally, distorts the basic law in the universe. Is this the horror of a reality bender? Nick Fury's pupils shrunk. He finally knew what reality distortion is. Ignore the objective laws and distort the law of reality. This is the reality bender. The existence of each of them is provoking the law of reality, and they should not exist in the world at all. This unscientific, Ingjiang's military and cutting-edge scientists directly collapsed their three views. The potential difference in kinetic energy comparable to space-based weapons can be easily smoothed out in an instant. Just like the influence of gravity does not exist after entering the vicinity of KT 9927. This is simply a provocation to science. Outrageous. Even super ability, observe basic science too. Someone wailed in despair, like the wailing of a defeated dog. How can it be? How could Phoenix Force lose so easily? Super ability? Impossible. There is no such power in super ability. Professor X stared wide-eyed. With a swipe, the whole person was so excited that he stood up, staring at the screen in front of him, muttering to himself, eyes full of disbelief. Reality bender? What kind of existence is this? What kind of power do they control? Professor X gritted his back molars. His expression was gloomy, and his eyes were extremely gloomy. The familiar power. He seems to have seen it in the Windbreaker Man dispatched by the Foundation before. The exaggerated effect is as if one's wishes come true, as if omnipotent. MJ, never lose. Hold on, get rid of that monster. Professor X had a gloomy face, unwilling to admit defeat so easily. This time, but it's a great opportunity for Mutant to come to the fore. Once again, imperfectly, the lofty ideal in his heart. Mutants and human beings coexist in harmony. It is possible. This is the perfect opportunity to achieve your goals. Find in addition to kin, there's another force on the field, also belongs to the power of mutant. Professor X felt relieved, and then infinite hope sprouted. Make it or break it. In one fell swoop, the law of reality has been distorted. Wanda frowned. After being in contact with the original power of Origin Magic Power, she felt the taste of déjà vu from KT 9927. It's just like, similar to the one in my hand. However, the essence seems to be lower. Wanda frowned, feeling a little unsure about myself. But now, it is obviously not a matter of entanglement, whose power is essentially higher. It's a battle to the death, the question of who wins. Give me roll. Wanda's deep roar sounded. Energy overload. The beautiful big eyes were completely shrouded in crimson brilliance, like two flawless rubies. Endless Origin Magic Power blooms in Wanda's hands. She has already stepped on the verge of losing control of super energy, and the terrifying power can be imagined. Boom! Rumble. The huge Origin Magic Power is constantly accumulating, as if it is about to form a substance. It's like two huge amounts of celestial bodies, constantly rotating and expanding in Wanda's hands, and then smashing towards KT 9927. Isn't that distorting reality? Who can't do the same? After the Origin Magic Power on Wanda erupts, it also has the power of alter reality. Alter reality at will, and forever. Sid Horn, he actually took the initiative to lend his strength. The observer's eyes moved slightly, as if he saw something that surprised him. But it calmed down quickly. Looking at him in diversity, he quickly thought of Scarlet, which Wanda's future achievements, easily reversing the world line and creating a real universe. And the ordinary dimension Mephisto is also a plaything crawling under her feet. It could be called the darling of Origin Magic Power. With this achievement, it was no surprise that Sidhorn offered to help. Pluto Sidhorn, Ancient One's face changed slightly. As an Asgardian of the Earth dimension, Sorcerer Supreme must deal with other dimensions. For this, the terrifying Mephisto of the multi-universe. Ancient One definitely has impressions. In a sense, he is the top Mephisto above Dormammu. But he has a low-key personality, rarely goes out for activities, and is not as active as Dormammu. So don't worry too much. Now, this top Mephisto actually took the initiative to lend his strength? Could it be? Ancient One's gaze moved slightly. It suddenly occurred to me that before the Foundation and SCP appeared, I used Eye of Agamotto to see the corner of the future, and Ancient One quickly understood the reason for Sithorn's appearance, it seems. She is no longer needed. Why? Scarlet, which in this posture already possesses a strength comparable to, or even beyond her limit. Scarlet, which is out. Ancient One definitely doesn't need to take the risk anymore. The dragon mother divinity in her body is a time bomb, and it must be controlled at a safe threshold. The two original forces that represent the real universe. Ancient One shook his head. Do not believe that there will be a stronger force in the world. Phoenix and Sithorn teamed up to fight. Even if the strongest of the God group came out, they would still be beaten and run away. Cosmic Arena? Sithorn? He is willing to do it. Gao Tianzuan's pupils shrank. He who had been peeking at the screen in the dark suddenly couldn't hold back anymore. As one of the members of the Elders of the Universe, a veritable ancient, he definitely knows Sithorn, the old god of the ancient times, the great magician chasing black magic, has infinite power, and the existence of dimensional Mephisto is just an apprentice who follows his footsteps. Above the level god father powerhouse, even he himself may not be able to beat it. One of the top few powerhouses in the universe. Steady, Gao Tianzuan nodded slightly. No matter what the origin of this KK 9927 is, with Sithorn's origin magic power and the cooperation of Phoenix Force, he really doesn't believe that there is a force zone in the universe that can defeat him. Even if it exists, it is impossible to appear in this dimension. A Phoenix Force that manipulates molecular changes. Chaos Force for alter reality decay. To deal with a mere divinity of unknown origin. Flying dragon riding face. How can I lose? Gao Tianzuan turned the seat confidently and was no longer interested in looking down. A battle that is doomed to end has no viewing value. DJI. Reality is always the worst. Just when countless people relaxed their minds and felt that the wave was stable. Field results. But surprised countless people. Almost made the eyeballs fall out. Rumble. A combined attack by Scarlet Witch and Phoenix. It can be called the blooming of the original power of the two universes. The result that ushered in was fiasco. A fiasco for nothing. KK 9927 is still clutching his arm. The thrilling beauty cannot be described in words. The body is also full of maternal glory. It is like the divinity revealed by the mother of all things, which makes people instinctively full of trust. In front of KT 9927, all scenes turned into scorched earth. The entire city was abruptly wiped off the earth and turned into a dark pit. Seen from space, it was as if someone had cut an ugly scar on the earth, gnawed into holes in the cheese. And Phoenix, who was eyeing it just now, and Scarlet, which were all blown away, go out. How fierce it was just from rushing up. It's as fast as being beaten out now. Boom! Two dull bangs. The two smashed into the ruins one after another. The terrifying shock force and the pressure on the body made Qin and Wanda faint. Just knocked out, after losing the host as a vessel for carrying power. The Phoenix Force with nowhere to go, and the troubles of chaos had no choice but to leave one after another. With their size, it is impossible to descend to the earth in person. Being able to strike through a human body is already the limit of what the two powers can do. Bang, bang, bang. Reality is distorted, and the surroundings turn into black holes. In the empty pit, there is no trace of the existence of the city. The entire city, together with the tens of millions of ordinary people living in it, disappeared without a trace. The power of a reality bender. Twist the rule as you like, just like overriding the universe. Gulu. Nick Fury couldn't help but salivate more and more. Looking at the scene in the exposure screen, the whole person is not well. The disappearance of city. Even in ancient times, 727 is an unimaginable event. What's more, modern. In the era of highly developed information, the existence of a city is distorted and disappears in full view. Even more terrifying, Braised Egg found that in his mind, the memory about this city was becoming increasingly blurred. That city, what's the name of that city? Nick Fury's pupil shrunk. As the king of agents who never forgets, he finds that there is something wrong with his memory. Relevant memories have become extremely blurred. It's just like the city has never been the same. However, in the exposure video, there are dazzling deep pits, but it is showing everyone that this nameless city once existed. This Braised Egg couldn't help taking a deep breath. It felt a little creepy. But he has no time to be afraid, because the passive power of SCP-166 has not disappeared. It even became more and more terrifying as time went by. Return man-made objects to their original nature, and return the highly developed technological age to the pure, natural Stone Age. Such terrible effects. It has broken through the original city and started to spread towards other cities. Warnings have already been issued in 5 cities. On the fringes of the city, many roads have already declined. From the asphalt road, it became a lush pavement, and a large number of vines grew wildly. World, start to move towards ancient times. Mommy FK. No one can organize them. Nick Fury slapped the table angrily, both shocked and angry in his heart, and continued at this speed. It won't be long. The range may cover the entire continent. Across the ocean, the impact is absolutely unimaginable. Even if it is just the current loss, it surpasses any previous arrival of contained objects. Potato looked at the sky in awe. A horrifying thought came to mind. Could it be, spread beyond the galaxy, restart the entire universe, and enter the Stone Age? Scary thought. It was like a poisonous snake gnawing at his heart. But soon, Braised Eggs don't have to worry about these, because, uncharacteristically, a propeller fighter plane appeared above SCP-166. Wrong. Wouldn't that monster be able to disable all technological products and turn them into the most primitive state? How could those fighter planes fly over its head? Countless people stared wide-eyed, looking unbelievable. But after seeing the emblem on the tail into the wing, it's the Foundation. That makes sense. Chapter 087, Reality Anchor. The cosmic powerhouses were paralyzed by fright. The propeller roared. Voices from technology and civilization. In this piece of land that is about to return to the Stone Age, it is extremely harsh and eye-catching. Airplane. SCP-166 looks curiously at the sky. Although the passive power is terrifying, the succubus girl, Gia, is just a simple little girl in essence, bewitch male humans and make them fall into physical madness. Never was SCP-160 SIX's intention. She herself is also a poor person who has been poisoned by this power. In essence, she is still a simple girl, but she is inexplicably passive, becomes feared by others, and is regarded as a catastrophe. So, see unexpected flight fighters in the sky. In SCP-160 SIX's mind, it was more just curiosity. Why those technological powers, who were able to exempt themselves from the effects on themselves, did not have any electrical short circuit and collapse. Could it be? Can they control the influence on me? SCP-166 looks up. Blinking eyes, looks very cute. But KT-9927 beside her was not so calm. Flawless face. Shomei frowned slightly. Beautiful beyond words. Even a slight frown has touched the hearts of countless people. Make them goofy. More irresistible than the original psychological impulse, the influence of beauty. A look of apprehension appeared in KT-9927's eyes. Take the lead for the first time. The power to distort reality blossomed at her fingertips, and all cosmic constants and natural laws were replaced at this instant. However, the fighter planes in the sky seemed unaware, still moving forward. After arriving near the mother and daughter of KT-9927, the altitude was slowly lowered, maintained at a moderate level. Whoosh! The hatch opened, and one after another, special operations teams armed to the teeth fell from the air. Land directly toward KT 9927 face to face. It was as if she didn't care at all about her power to distort reality. How can this be? Aren't they afraid of death? Ingjiang Junjun frowned, unable to figure it out. The power of KT 9927 is obvious to all. Definitely the top pinch. Even without the influence and blessing of SCP-166, with his means of distorting reality, no two heroes dare to say that they are sure to win. Too exaggerated. The combat performance is almost like turning on a modifier. Such a terrifying existence. The containment personnel sent by the Foundation are actually those ordinary special operations teams. At least the mysterious man with the spear must appear on the stage, right? All the instruments were aligned remotely, so a big shot had to appear on the stage, trying to see some clues of eagle sauce. I feel that I have spent a lot of money on preparations, and I'm simply busy and lonely. Could it be that clones don't feel sorry for them, so they can be used as consumables and consumed at will? The senior executives of Eagle Sauce judge others by themselves. Consumables? Cannon fodder? It's definitely not that simple. Nick Fury shook his head. In the exposure video, the introduction to KT 9927 is not as clear as other containment items. But the content filled in above is enough to prove that the Foundation definitely doesn't know nothing about him. Use cannon fodder to test the strength of KT 9927. It is normal to put it in front of Ingjiang or even other organizations. For those in high positions, human life is just a number, let alone some clones that could be reproduced with resources. But for the Foundation, impossible. They would never do such nonsense. Nick Fury shook his head. Luden's confidence in the Foundation is even stronger than that of Lin Xiu himself. He doesn't believe it. Organizations of this size would be unprepared, rendered and set off by various SCPs. And the Foundation's containment operations again and again. The image of the Foundation has long been elevated infinitely in the hearts of countless people. Even if Lin Xiu jumped out and said that he would kill the five gods, reshape the diversity, and recreate the timeline, a lot of people would believe it. There's definitely a way to deal with it. Nick Fury murmured under his breath. The one-eyed eyes were full of determination, and they stared at the screen with brilliance, trying to get some clues from it. RO, if you're lucky enough to analyze something and steal it from SHILD, that is the best note. Coveting the battlefield with the careful mind of stealing lessons. It turns out, Nick Fury's guess was correct. Right after the Foundation's Secret Service landed, they scattered quickly. If you look carefully, you will find that those who are fully armed and wearing combat uniforms are not human at all. It's the Black Light Tyrant. After multiple evolutions and adjustments of the Black Light virus, the high-end advanced form has become a zombie that looks like a human being. The dark body emits a cold light and is full of metallic texture. The body size is not much different from that of humans, but the physical fitness in all aspects is extremely terrifying. It is capable of beating super soldiers and crushing Captain America. Shout out! Groups of 3 or 5 gather together to form a special warfare squad. Each team is spaced in an orderly manner in front of each other, about 20 meters away. Only then did countless people notice that where they landed, they did not rush out in a swarm, but followed a certain pattern, like an invisible net covering K-9927 within its range. Every special warfare squad is a node in the big network. Contains KT-9927 like a hexagram. And in the place where the special warfare squads are surrounded, they're carrying dark heavy metals one by one, and the Black Light Tyrants have chains wrapped around their hands, dragging an object like an anchor in the middle of the chain. KT-9927, who had always looked calm, finally changed his face. Color changed suddenly. On the quiet face, there was endless anger. In the eyes that seemed to be burning like flames, a bit of fear could still be vaguely seen. It seems that KT-9927 is instinctively afraid of something. Boom! Flames soared into the sky. The space is distorted by power, and turned into a long dragon. At this moment, time also became chaotic, breaking into a twisted appearance abruptly. Power intertwined. Slam it forward. It's like taking a world like a hammer and smashing it down. It turns out, in addition to defense, the power to distort reality is as terrifying as attacking. Ability to change the rule to neutralize the attack. When acting as the attacker, it can also make the messy cosmological constant become the strongest attacking spear. Change constants. Crash rule. This is the scariest attack ever. From the avenue to simplicity, reject all bells and whistles. Pity. KT-9927 met the Foundation. It's Lin Xiu's Foundation containment team specially prepared for him. Scranton reality anchor. The plan starts. Lin Xiu whispered softly. Eyes slightly narrowed, expression unchanged. For the appearance of KT-9927, he is not surprised at all. Lin Xiu has a cautious personality and has always been prepared for things with both hands, never taking chances. When seeing SCP-166, the descendant of mysterious and unknown ancient existence, after this entry, Lin Xiu was ready to deal with the mother of SCP-166. SRA, also known as the Scranton Reality Anchor, a powerful device invented by Dr. Robert Scranton. Since their invention, the stabilizer has been the Foundation's best weapon against reality benders. Same. It is also the most well-known technology in the history of the SCP Foundation. For this complex technique, Lin Xiu definitely has no control and no raw materials to build it from. But he can exchange it. Thaumiel in the meme of the twin gods. SCP-2000 Mechanical Descendant. The circle of protection around the central machinery. The Scranton reality anchors are used above. Lin Xiu directly and selectively redeems a part. Just pull out the stable anchor and use it. Not only is the effect awesome, but it can also save a lot of points. That's why Lin Xiu didn't panic at all. From the first moment KT-9927 appeared, her final fate was doomed. No reality bender can escape the suppression of a reality anchor. It's just a doomed ending. Hiss. Roar. The black light tyrants roared in unison. The muscles in the hands swelled, and the raised arms swelled several times. Get a hard shake. A powerful force blooms. Just throw the stabilizer out. Crossed into a hexagram, like a seal, sealing KT-9927 inside. A reality-distorting terrorist attack. Before and after reaching the stable anchor body, it disappeared in an instant. Not just attacks, even KT-9927 originally, under the influence of the invisible position, seemed to be covered with a thick layer of shackles. In vivo, the power to distort reality is gone. Under the influence of a reality anchor removed from SCP-2000's mechanical ants, the power to warp reality is simply unusable. It's like putting a person into an oxygen-free environment. Although K-9927 will not die due to anaerobic suffocation, it is enough to temporarily abolish a reality-distorting power under the stance of the reality stability anchor. After losing the most terrifying power, KT-9927 is no different from ordinary humans. It's just that the extraordinary beauty is still thrilling, beyond the limit that human language can describe. Escorted by her side are all black light tyrants. Not only cloned as a template, but also the species has changed. The proper eyebrows and eyes are thrown to the blind man. After losing the power to distort reality, it is much easier to contain KT-9927, who has become an ordinary person, especially in the case of SCP-166 Succubus Girl Gia, originally not resisting either. The action flows smoothly. A series of extremely skilled actions appeared on the field again. The containment of countless people helpless. In the hands of the Special Service Team, it was like a docile sheep, and it was easily brought back to the fighter plane. The containment process seems to be astonishingly simple. Until the roar of the propeller sounded in the sky, no one had recovered. It's that simple. Nick Fury's expression was a little stiff. Originally, I wanted to steal from my teacher and learn some methods to make SHIEL D more confident in its next actions. Result: how do you learn from this situation? The combat team parachuted down and threw a bunch of unidentified objects. Then, just now, he was looking at the direction, pressing down on Phoenix, Scarlet Witch, and smashing the hammer. It seemed that he was exerting a little effort, far from the kind of going all out, and the ghost knows where the limit is. Braised Dan thought that there would be a fierce war staged, and wanted to learn some measures and means to deal with the contained object from the Foundation's response. Result: KT 9927 second counseling. It directly became a weak rookie. Even Nick Fury feels that there is no need to send a female agent who has experienced many battles. Just let 2 female employees go, and they can be easily escorted back. Comparison of strength and weakness before and after. It's so divided. What about the Foundation? It really is an unfathomable organization. Dr. Manhattan murmured, in the eyes that floated with boundless brilliance. They were full of curiosity. Powerful. Mystery. The methods used to suppress the contents are different each time. It's like an endless secret vault. Can come up with unexpected means every time. Dr. Manhattan thought that this time he would see the mysterious man holding a spear again and wanted to try to communicate with him. Result: it was a weird anchor object that appeared on the scene to solve the SCP. Different from the expected development. However, in his heart, Li Wangzhao was not disappointed. On the contrary, he became more curious. Can't see the bottom line of the limit. This is more interesting. Foundation. The observer spat out a few words heavily. Both his tone and his face were extremely dignified. With a short body, sitting on the moon reef, his eyes are full of fear. Regarding the strength of KT 9927, observers are actually not afraid. If fighting alone, with his powerful strength, the observers are at least 90% sure to suppress her. But such a simple containment method for the Foundation. Unbelievable. The observer shook his head. If it is aimed at KT 9927 alone, it means that the Foundation really has a long history and heritage, as they say, so they know the characteristics of various contained objects and can take corresponding measures in an orderly manner. If not, that means that the other party possesses and can easily suppress the power of the KT 9927 level. That is, the top-level Godfather powerhouse. Dealing with a level Godfather is like handling a chicken. Even the real master doesn't need to be dispatched. A bunch of mass-produced clones and props can be easily suppressed. What kind of God group is not even far in front of them? Regardless of that possibility, the meaning behind it is horrifying. Other side, the process of solving KT 9927 so easily is undoubtedly a shock to the strong in the universe. I can contain it easily. You guys, definitely the same. The universe, shaking, the observer frowned tightly, as if he had an uncontrollable sadness. Solution: the corners of Lin Xiu's mouth are slightly curved, and the end of the voice rises with a successful smile. He doesn't have as many things as those people. Lin Xiu was simply feeling comfortable with the successful conclusion of the Advent event. And it's a double hit. Now, it's finally harvest time. Chapter 088. New template activated. The strangest containment comes. Ding. SCP-166 contained successfully. Almost when the containment team returned to the pocket space, the system prompt sounded at the same time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a controllable version of SCP-166, a lackluster reward. Lin Xiu smacked his lips and gave an evaluation in his heart. The succubus girl Jia has a docile personality, and it is easy to get her cooperation. Controllability is not very important to her. That is, it is better than nothing. Lin Xiu pulled it casually. Open the new pop-up panel. Controllable version of SCP-166 Succubus Girl Jia. Within the scope of her existence, all man-made objects will gradually return to their unprocessed state, and precise and complex objects will be affected faster. As SCP-166 descends for longer, the scope of influence will continue to expand. It will arouse the primitive impulse of male human instincts, all males will become slaves of desire and will do nothing to fight for SCP-166 and will be obsessed with SCP-166 without a bottom line. The holder Lin Xiu can control the actions of SCP-166, and her effect cannot affect the subjective will of the holder. Note: SCP-166 needs to provide 1 milliliter of special body fluid every day for its eating method. Am I in the category of immunity? Lin Xiu smacked his lips. No wonder he only has the purest appreciation for SCP-166. Not the beast's instinctual urges, but for normal men, the idea of viewing beautiful creatures is completely within the scope of reason. Emotion, he is within the scope of the exemption. Lin Xiu thought that he had already cultivated the mentality of Gujing Wubua. Tisk, send it down for containment. Lin Xiu shook his head. Fortunately, the items exchanged by the system can effectively isolate the influence of SCP-160's excess power. Don't worry about going back to the Stone Age when you open your eyes. Otherwise, he also has to redeem his separate pocket space to put SCP-166 in, which is a big loss. Tread under Lin Xiu's order. Standing around the underground base, the sculpture-like guards instantly came to life. Don't change your face. Proceed to the prepared room with SCP-166. They are essentially zombies transformed by SCP-008. They don't even have gender, let alone be affected by the charm effect of SCP-166. They're definitely the best guards. The rewards were distributed as usual. Lin Xiu has long been used to it after so many experiences. But, compared with usual, this time seems to be a little more lucky. Ding! Alien containment found. KT 9927 black. Do you want to contain it? Yes, apricot. Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly, but he didn't expect this surprise to be waiting. He planned to keep suppressing KT 9927 with the anchor to prevent her from jumping out and making trouble. Unexpectedly, the system actually jumped out to help. Tisk, it seems that I can save us some of exposure value. Lin Xiu smacked his lips. The idiot chose to refuse. Ding! KT 9927 black. Containment succeeded, converting to a controllable version. That's okay. Lin Xiu blinked with surprise on his face. If this is the case, it will be a double hit, and this time it can be regarded as a big profit. SCP-166 is unremarkable. They all rely on passive and indiscriminate strikes. But her mother, this ancient divinity, is different. A top-level 5 reality bender is definitely a top combat power. Even if she is placed under Lin Xiu's command, she can greatly increase her strength. In the exchange panel, the value of a level 5 reality bender is an astronomical figure. That's still normal. The divine, KT 9927, is obviously not ordinary. Controllable version KT 9927, Black Goddess / Mother, powerful reality bender, type Black Divinity. Once gave birth to SCP-166 with Dr. Clef, one of the 4 Doctors of Apocalypse, fighting the god of war, Ablo, as a mother in prehistoric times. Owner Lin Xiu can control its behavior and completely influence KT 9927's actions. Note: he is the mother who gave birth to life, and also the poor man who was killed by his lover. Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly. Completely obey your own instructions. A powerful combat force with no future troubles. It is not much more reliable than those of the 682 Uncle Z. Don't worry about thunderstorms at any time, attracting supernormal attention. Moreover, with the strong strength of KT 9927, it is barely enough at present. Just when the corner of Lin Xiu's mouth was raised and he was in a good mood. Ding! The host successfully contained 10 anomalies, and the Foundation's authority is further unlocked. New module, loading module loaded. Foundation permissions are further unlocked. Special meme. Foundation-related organizations. 3 arrows rotate through concentric circles. The mark representing the Foundation, constantly rotating in the system panel. Wait until the icon freezes. In the system screen, A variety of tokens representing organization names began to emerge. The Black Queen of the Crown with simple strokes. Serpent's Hand like a tree diagram. Like Prometheus Labs surrounded by stars. All kinds of organizations flash across the screen. Some Lin Xiu is familiar with, and some Lin Xiu is unfamiliar with. Even the GOC Alliance with a shining five-pointed star is one of them. Here, take off. Lin Xiu's eyes lit up, and there was a smile in the corner of his mouth. This time the brand new template is activated. Ascension is definitely beyond imagination. Even no less than the unlocking of the Gemini God meme. The relevant organizations of the Foundation are unlocked, and members of the corresponding organizations can be recruited from them by consuming exposure points. It means a lot to Lin Xiu. It not only fills the shortcomings of the Foundation's internal emptiness, but also greatly enhances the organization's combat power. Under normal circumstances, many special teams of the Foundation have the ability to suppress and contain SCPs alone. For Lin Xiu, it is definitely a great burden reduction. Even if there's an accident one day and SCPs swarm in and flood the universe, Lin Xiu doesn't have to worry about being in a hurry. And there are not a few strong people who break the rules. At least, the KT-9927 beside him was personally killed by Dr. Clef in the GOC. Tisk Lin Xiu smacked his lips. Looking at the beautiful 9927 next to him, his expression was a little subtle. Ding! The containment of SCP-166 is complete. Do you want to start drawing the 11th contained item for exposure and arrival? Whether familiar formula, familiar taste. Lin Xiu almost regarded this as a sense of ritual. The decisive choice is okay. Then start the lottery draw in the starry containment. But this time the Earth King's luck seems to be not very good. Dell, maybe it's the bad luck of the entire universe. This is interesting. Lin Xiu murmured in a low voice, with a rare, serious expression on his face. Even the joy of unlocking the new module before was diluted a lot at this moment. Matter might be big. I hope there are not too many people who commit suicide. The forgotten, nameless city. The dark patch on the surface seemed to have been wiped away by Invisible's big hand. The whole city, completely removed from the Earth. Not only geographically, but also in man-made memory and related records. Below is an exposure video. No one knows that such a city once existed on Earth, and it was erased abruptly by the terrifying power. Tread. The X-Men soared into the sky, searching for an inch of land around with super ability. Even Professor X, who has been staying in the Mutant Academy and the 10,000-year dead house, has rarely come to the field. Psychokinesis pours out, scattered out. It keeps searching around like a radar. Next to the busy figures of the X-Men, there are countless agents dispatched, the sound of fighter planes roaring in the ear, various searchlights and radars illuminate. Busy, looking for something. The two forces did not affect each other, and were afraid of their respective strengths, so they did not fight. Found it, almost at the same time. The voices sounded from the mouths of the two forces at the same time. The mutants rushed towards Phoenix excitedly, and the SHIL agents gathered towards Scarlet Witch on the other side. Sorry, this mission failed and let you down. Kin stood up unsteadily. He covered his head and looked at Professor X, with a bit of apology and self-blame on his face. This is Mutant's best chance to step up to the stage. Get screwed by yourself. I'm sorry. Professor X shook his head. His tone was extremely firm. There's no need to say sorry to anyone. This time, you've done enough. It was me who was too reckless. I sent you out without determining the danger and the strength of the opponent. Failure is my responsibility as the commander. Professor X took the responsibility directly. Unlike Magneto, his character is to start with himself first and then to others. It is never a character to push the fault to other people and get used to blaming others. Besides, this time the containment came, and their mutants didn't get rich. At least, Kin has truly awakened the Phoenix Force, attracting the attention of the most powerful original force in the original universe, and being able to borrow his power has entered the top level of combat power on the Earth. As Kin continues to become stronger, she can borrow more and more Phoenix forces. Mutant finally has an ace that cannot be ignored, as long as the strength is strong enough. Sooner or later, there will be a day to go to the stage. This containment is so powerful that Professor X can't believe that the next containment can be so perverted. As the storage continues to increase, there will always be a time when their mutant shows up. Rest assured, we still have a chance. Seeing Kin, who was still blaming herself, Professor X stretched out his hand to appease the girl and used his super ability. Combat power may be average, but when it comes to psychological tutors, Professor X is absolutely top-notch. Chance, it won't be long. Professor X raised his head, looking at the screen with a somewhat obscure gaze. Countdown. Here we go. Countdown to exposure of the 11th contained object. 8 hours and 23 minutes on the other side of the pit. Brush, brush, brush. Well-trained agents gather rapidly towards the place where the target is found, in order to prevent guys with ulterior motives from causing trouble. SHIELD even brought a lot of heavy weapons, loaded with live ammunition, enough to fight a small war. Surrounded by agents, Mayor Falkman makes his debut. The black bald head is very dazzling under the sunlight, and Ian Lau is full of style. Actually, I think you could wear a hat. Wanda struggled to get up from the ground, but the glare of the light made her squint her eyes slightly. Nick Fury's mouth twitched slightly. Braised Dan wanted to get mad, but Wanda's strong strength made him endure it. He also wants to PY a wave and trick Wanda into a full member of the Avengers Alliance. Alter reality's origin magic power. This is too much to eat. I will try to consider your suggestion. Actually, director, you only need to go out every day and buy oil without wiping it off. At least, the reflective effect won't be as good. Phil Coulson's weak voice sounded beside him. Turning his head, he was greeted with the cold gaze of marinated egg. The Karka Desert and the sub-base in Afghanistan, it seems that there is no shortage of personnel in charge. Deputy, what do you think? The cold voice of braised egg sounded, making Phil Coulson smile awkwardly. The voice of complaining came to an abrupt end. Humph. Only then did Brain turn his head in satisfaction. If he can't deal with Wanda, he won't be able to deal with you? He is the king of agents. There are too many hungry wolves staring at this place. It's not a place to chat. Let's get on the fighter plane first. Nick Fury, stern-faced, looks a lot more serious. And it's almost time. Nick Fury pointed to the screen in the sky. The constantly beating time hit the last line of defense in Wanda's heart. Rely solely on your own origin magic power. Obviously not enough to resist those weird and powerful containment objects. She has already stumbled on it twice. Perhaps she could try more possibilities. Since it's your sincere invitation, let's force it. Wanda let go and took the initiative to follow behind the marinated egg. Countdown. 7 hours and 32 minutes. Kamar Taj. When no one knew, Odin, the king of Asgard, quietly arrived at this magical holy land. In an unknown location. In the Nine Realms, two top-level godfather powerhouses had a cordial meeting. But the atmosphere is obviously not as heavy as other people imagined. Does memory cleaning work? Odin frowned, a look of concern in his eyes. Although he is also proficient in some magic, but compared with the ancient one called Sorcerer Supreme, there's still some gap in these aspects, and it is definitely more prudent to concern his own stupid son, Thor Odin. It has basically succeeded. Ancient One whispered softly. All kinds of cleaning magic have been used, and Thor's whole body was almost knocked out with one palm. Call, that's good. Odin breathed a sigh of relief, as long as it works. If Thor has been indulging in the influence of SCP-166, then Asgard's next God King will be abolished. Those weird containments. It's really too difficult to deal with, not only because of its strength, but also because of its strange rules. The next anomaly is coming again. Are you ready? Odin pointed to the sky. His vicissitudes face was a little dignified. New containment. New countdown. Only 0 hours, 58 minutes left. Chapter 089. SCP-2935. Absolutely dead. Prepare. Ancient One frowned. The ever-changing countdown in the sky is, for countless people, an approaching trial. For these Asgardians, is a heavy responsibility. Ordinary people can watch the theater. How can they wait anxiously for the judgment to come? But they, all of them, have to rush forward with all their strength. Try to fight for a chance. This time, Ancient One looked at the countdown that was about to reach 0 and shook his head solemnly. I can't make a move. Although she really wanted to do something, the two forces in her body hadn't reached a balance yet. Ancient One is now maintained entirely by the eye of Agamotto, constantly resetting time and space, and finally finding a balance from countless opportunities, and is grasping that feeling to make the Emperor rebalance and stabilize. Using magic to help Thor and the Hulk remember clearly is already the limit of what she can do. If you rush to fight again, whether it can solve the problem is one thing. The power imbalance in her body is the most dangerous thing. On one side is Dormammu, the Lord of the Dark Dimension, who is coveting the earth. One side is the unknown divine Dragon Mother from the upper reaches of time and space. No matter which side collapses, it will be a catastrophe for the Earth, a proper doomsday disaster. I see. Odin nodded, his eyes a little dignified, feeling slightly depressed. The powerful posture of Ancient One before indeed has a great hidden danger. The top combat power in the 9 realms is missing a corner. It also means that the responsibility on his shoulders has become a bit heavier. Rest assured, my condition has initially stabilized. Dr. Strange will take over Eye of Agamotto and replace me. Ancient One definitely knew the worries in Odin's heart and said with a smile, Strange, the young magician? Odin's eyes moved slightly, and he quickly locked onto Zhengsheng from his memory. That's right. Strange is the best of us. You can trust him. Ancient One nodded. Maybe, Odin murmured softly, non-committal. He didn't want to spend time questioning Ancient One's words, because it was meaningless. Time will tell. TB, a new containment has arrived. On the screen across the sky, the beating countdown finally stopped again. The sword of Darmos hanging above his head finally came down. Ding, countdown to 0, exposure. The 11th containment object, SCP-2935, is absolutely dead. The dim screen slowly lights up. Appearing in the eyes of countless people, it is somewhat different from before. There is no direct focus on a certain object close-up so that everyone can notice the original at a glance. 2. A wide-angle shot came directly. The field of view keeps changing. It's like shooting a bird's-eye view video from a high altitude with a drone. The pictures on the screen are constantly changing, as if the whole world is being photographed, and soon the famous places of interest are flashed. The territory is from west to east, and soon spread all over the world, and it is still extending to the galaxy. It doesn't seem like a big deal. It is very similar to their environment, like a one-to-one reproduction. But the scene in the picture has a kind of indescribable desolation. Why? Why does it feel weird? Countless people rubbed their arms. Goosebumps kept popping up, and there was an indescribable weirdness and uneasiness in my heart. Soon, they discovered the source of the uneasiness. Quiet. It's so quiet. It seems to be the same as where everyone lives. But the content in the picture is quiet and scary. The sound cannot be transmitted through the picture, but they can see the dead atmosphere in the picture. No shuttles, no crowds. Even the planes in the sky, the railways on the ground, and even the subway buses that shuttle through the city have all come to a standstill. Various vehicles are randomly displayed on the road, just like car models. If you look carefully, you can also find thick dust hanging on the glass windows. It's just like it's been a long time since there was human activity. Not only humans, but even animals could not find any signs of activity. An indescribable silence filled the world. It was as if all life forms had disappeared. Corpses were lying here and there on the ground, all stiff and motionless like dried bacon. Exposure video flashes back too quickly. I can't see the specific situation clearly, but what I can be sure of is that there are countless dead men lying on the ground, and there's no one to stop and clean up the scene. It is so desolate and shocking. EA, where did it all go? Similar thoughts flashed through countless people's minds. Alive. Where did the living go? In such a huge world, why didn't a single living person see it? Top. This world, does it mean our world? The red and refined barrage floated by. It made countless people watching the information on the internet feel chills down their backs. The extremely familiar world has fallen into dead silence in the exposed screen. It has been almost 10 minutes, and not even a living person has appeared. Is this to say that their world will completely die? Absolutely dead. Could this SCP be an unreasonable death? Fear. Install. All kinds of negative emotions spread among the crowd like a virus, sweeping the entire network. A dead world. Our world. Nick Fury's pupils shrunk, and his stern expression almost couldn't hold back. Have the results of the Intelligence Analysis Department come out? What is the situation in the dead world in the video? Nick Fury's face was gloomy. Did not expect. This time the containment has only just begun to come to light. Just throwing such a big melon, it scared countless people. The words, customs, and habits that appear in the screen all conform to the local conditions. According to the preliminary analysis of the picture, the similarity is as high as 90%, and it is preliminarily determined to be the Earth we live in. Phil Coulson walked over holding the tablet. The above are all urgently uploaded by the Intelligence Analysis Department. Really are? Click the overexcited marinated egg. Hangs up the pen in my hand. Forehead, it's a mirror universe, the definition of terms proposed by the Analysis Department. Although the world in the picture is very similar to ours in all aspects, but the technological development of this world seems to be a bit higher than ours. In terms of social development, it is about 5 to 10 years ahead. This is the only subtle difference. Phil Coulson scratched his head. Beside, the marinated egg, who was almost in despair, almost didn't tense his expression. The corners of his mouth twitched. Squinting, looking at Phil Coulson. Braised eggs reconsidered their plan to be exiled to Afghanistan. Military, Earth in future time and space. The general's face changed slightly. What? SHIEL. Deacon discover. Ingjiang definitely can also discover. But future parallel time and space. Although with the emergence of the Foundation and SCP, their worldview has been expanded a lot, and their ability to accept has also been greatly enhanced. But in the face of this kind of thing that only exists in speculation, it is still a big shock to move towards reality. But in shock. Soon, the Eagle Sauce Army thought of the benefits contained in it. This is a world. The content displayed on the screen alone is already spreading to the solar system. That is to say, the area has at least one solar system. If these territories can be converted into resources to be absorbed by the Empire, the Army General's heart was hot. The eyeballs glow green like hungry wolves. I just don't know if this is the background board or if it will actually appear. Asgard land of endless seals death. What a strong dead air. Hela slowly woke up from her long sleep, opened her eyes, and saw a dead world, even through the screen. Hela can also smell from the screen the extremely strong dead air in another world. The concept of death is spreading throughout the world. It seems that all life forms have fallen into eternal death. A dead world. There is no life in sight. Strange power. Hela frowned, with fear in her eyes. The scene of death and silence made the various forces and powerhouses have different moods. But exposure video, obviously not based on their will. The angle of the screen changes. The bird's eye view from top to bottom began to shrink continuously, and after passing through a cemetery-like tombstone forest, it finally focused on a dark limestone cave. A large number of subtitles began to slowly appear from the screen. SCP-2935 Absolute Death Containment Level. Keter. SCP-2935 is a space-time anomaly located in a remote location in a cave under a cemetery where the last buried decedent died in 1908. SCP-2935 is abnormally originally. It is a parallel reality, almost identical to the modern Earth in 2016. The main difference is that all life activities, whether biological or non-biological, including all sentient entities, machinery, computers, etc., lifelike phenomena within SCP-2935 all ceased on April 2, 2016. Judging from a detection response, all life forms in SCP-2935 died without warning between 3.00 to 4.00 of the day, and the reason cannot be determined. The entire universe is covered by the concept of death, so it is named absolute death. Parallel time and space. Dead universe? Ancient One and Odin looked at each other. They saw each other's eyes one after another and couldn't hide the horror in their eyes. Earth's mirror universe is about 5 years from now. 2. But it is a completely dead universe. All life forms have fallen into death one after another. The concept is just too intimidating. What about Kamartaj? What about Asgard? What about the Earth? What about the solar system? Even the celestial god group, the Ancient One, the 5 great gods, and the Funwillet. Did they all fall into this unforeseen death? No one survived, all died. Dest, he gasped. His eyes were full of disbelief. The start is King Bomb. This time when the containment came, the melon that exploded was really too big. It was too scary. SCP-2935? Absolute death. Odin's voice carried an unidentified expression. Looked up, looking towards Ancient One. The one-eyed eyes are full of fear. This breath, could it be the supreme divinity you fought against last time? The Death Supreme, known as the 3 Brothers of Death. No wonder Odin had the association. This picture is really too sensational. A whole universe. Unexpectedly, in just 1 hour, it completely went to death, and all life forms ended one after another. The scene of death without warning. And when a ray of divine brilliance of the 3 Brothers of Death appeared on the stage, the resulting scene is too similar. The supreme divinity of death. Ancient One's pupil shrinks, and the pupil becomes a pinpoint file size. That time, the confrontation at the tip of the knife was definitely a past she was unwilling to take back. Too dangerous. It's too scary. Powerful beyond imagination. Even more terrifying than staying by the side of the eternal God. Just recalling it in my mind, my back will be wet with sweat. She could only forcefully endure the fear and compare the details. No, it's not like that. Ancient One shook his head, although identical deaths look similar. But she hasn't forgotten. The most terrifying power of Supreme Death Universe. Together with the universe originally, it is also going to death. Everything that exists, or does not exist, cannot escape the erosion of the concept of death. And it is completely coming to an end, ushering in an irreversible death this time. Still a bit short. Death in SCP-2935 is only for living things, or lifelike life forms. Not so much death. It is better to say that all existence has stopped the form of life. There is clearly a difference between the two. No. Am I thinking too much? Odin felt relieved. Facing the pressure of the supreme divinity, it was too great. The coming of a deity in an SCP. Countless people have tied their hands and have to be afraid of her strength. What if the supreme divinity descends? Let's wash up and sleep early. When I reincarnate in the next life, I will be a safer universe. Odin hadn't had time to breathe a sigh of relief. Ancient One's panting voice rang in his ears again. But it may not necessarily have nothing to do with the supreme death. His power seems to be controlled by 3 people, and only one of them took action last time. I don't know the other 2, the power they control. Ancient One shook his head. There was a bit of uncertain hesitation in the voice. It's like a blind man touching an elephant. How could the ants guess the horror of the supreme divinity? Zhao, what she fought against was just a ray of divine brilliance, not even her own. Not to mention the other 2 brothers who have been standing on the sidelines. Odin was speechless. Feeling anxious, he raised his throat again. Always think more, but also fear more. Ding. Exposure ends. SCP-2935 is absolutely dead. Coming. 0. Chapter 090. Marching Overtime and Space. The real mechanical era. Military. This is the cave leading to different time and space. The general's pupils shrank, staring at the limestone hole in the picture. It seems that you can see another universe through the dark hole. Anyway, that represents a universe. The resources of the entire universe. One can imagine how huge the value is. As for all the life forms inside are dead. Judge, it's better to die. If all of them are dead, there is no need to worry about resistance in the mirror universe. These are all free resources. A universe that asks for everything makes people tremble with excitement just thinking about it. A universe that no one controls. The high-level Jiang was breathing heavily, and the hegemony in his heart began to stir again. About the unexplained death of organisms inside? Die. Anyway, the resources inside were not destroyed. If you can exchange 10,000 to 20,000 elites for a world where you can get what you want, Jiang will definitely go there crying. Soldiers who died in the Imperial Cemetery for oil resources have fully proved this point. Human life, in the face of sufficiently large interests, it is just a series of Lulu numbers. Heavy machinery and air forces are all on standby. Satellite radar, full search. Once you find a situation, enter the passage at full speed. New world. This is a discovery that shocked the world even more than Columbus discovered the New World. The Army general's pupils widened. The burst of light illuminated the staff room a lot. This is a new era. Dull breathing sounded in the staff room, and these high-ranking generals were obviously aware of what this universe represented. Opportunity. Unimaginable opportunity. Idiot. Moron. A group of B. 763. Nick Fury slapped the table angrily. He was so angry that he even threw the folder in his hand away. Boom! Hit the wall hard. Flying and splashing. Documents spilled all over the floor. Director Phil Coulson knelt down to pick up the files and silently gathered them together, then arrange it and put on the table. Braised egg moved slightly, giving him an apologetic look. Definitely not for Phil Coulson. He's furious that the Gargoyle military used those bastards, knowing that SCP-2935 is a terrifying anomaly. An entire unknown universe has fallen into death, and one can imagine the danger behind it. Most likely, since the exposure and advent of SCP, the scariest one has ever appeared. Those guys just don't know how to live or die. Phil Coulson couldn't help but spit out the complaints in his heart. It's not that I don't know how to live or die. It's because of too much interest, I was dazzled. Nick Fury shook his head. Recover from anger. Dealing with those guys a lot. He definitely uses some guys' ideas. Another new world. Everyone wants to be Columbus who discovered the new world. Not to mention, this new continent is actually a universe. A mirror universe as huge as the world. Don't worry about resistance from the natives of the mirror universe. The resource land where you can ask for anything is simply a treasure that only exists in dreams. As for those dangers, at worst, treat it as a war loss. Bitten knows that at least 90% of organizations think this way. Spear Bureau B, are we going? The weather which looked at the cave in the picture, and her heart was about to move. No, wait first. The situation is unknown. Now is not the time to act. Zheng Xian's expression was serious. The entire universe is shrouded in the concept of death, so it is named absolute death. His eyes fell on the last line of the exposed content. Zheng Xian couldn't help but frown again. The situation is unknown. I'm not sure.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.